If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 126. Chapter 126. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am. Enjoy your life today. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow might never come. Takeshi Yamamoto, Katkyo Hitman Reborn. Who dares to attack me? The manbat only had time for this one thought before he couldn't think of anything else. He was already drowsy from the effects of the sedative, and he was hit on the back of the head suddenly. His eyes went dark immediately, his body trembled, and he couldn't even stand straight. Thud. Just then, the attacker saw that manbat had taken a hit but hadn't fallen, so he thought he had hit lightly. Then he hit manbat's head again with a heavy blow. Plop. This finally caused manbat to lose consciousness completely and fall to the ground. This guy looks tough on the outside, but I guess he can't take a punch after all. Dean looked down at the fallen manbat and thought to himself. Obviously, this was a joke since the manbat had already looked drowsy when he walked into the lab. Manbat didn't even bother to see if there were any intruders inside the lab. Manbat went straight to the table filled with chemicals and started searching, just like someone poisoned and desperately looking for an antidote. If Dean hadn't noticed this, he wouldn't have considered coming over to knock manbat unconscious. Dean had used a table leg he had just taken off as the weapon to hit the manbat's head from behind. The quality of this table leg was decent, a solid steel rod that was quite thick. It bent after hitting manbat's head twice, but it didn't break. But, seeing him stumble when he flew in, he must have fought with Batman and Robin not long ago. Dean casually tossed the table leg aside and shifted the manbat's body to face upward. Naloxone. He was looking for a wake-up drug just now. I see. Batman used a sedative on him, so that's why he had that reaction. Seeing the chemical in manbat's hand, Dean suddenly understood everything that had happened before. There's less than a minute left until the reverse manbat inhibitor is available in the system store. Dean looked down at the unconscious manbat on the ground and pondered. Should I just try it out now? Looking at the 1100 amazement points in his balance, Dean immediately gave up on this idea. Spending 500 points for a potion that can directly eliminate manbat, a supervillain, was actually quite a good deal, but it would be too expensive to buy just to see if it works. There was really no need to do that. Speaking of which, since the system can generate a reverse manbat inhibitor, can it also generate inhibitors for other metahumans? Like an anti-reversion for Killer Croc or a plant inhibitor for Poison Ivy? Dean thought it was possible, and this function of this system might be his trump card when facing countless superhuman abilities in the future. A while ago. In the air hundreds of meters outside the laboratory, Batman and Robin swung over from the opposite building using their grappling gun. When approaching the lab, manbat felt a surge of hope as he sped towards it, leaving Batman and Robin behind. But for Gotham's dynamic duo, this small distance meant nothing as they quickly caught up. Kirk's laboratory was not located on the ground but rather on the rooftop of a building. It looked like a huge cabin, not very big, around 70 to 80 square meters. After landing gracefully, Batman and Robin stood perfectly in front of the entrance to Kirk Langstrom's lab. Kirk probably did a lot of damage to the front door. He's definitely inside now. Robin spoke confidently while looking at the broken door. Kirk came to the lab in a hurry. I guess he was looking for an antidote to resist the effects of the sedative. But he surely didn't possibly know our sedative was different from the ones commonly used. The usual antidotes won't work. Now that he's trapped himself in the closed laboratory, it's like he's caught in his own trap. At this point, Batman's gaze slightly strengthened as he said, "It's too quiet inside." Hearing this, Robin paused for a moment. Indeed, the lab was completely silent. It was a bit too quiet. Then he made a guess, perhaps he's already asleep. Batman's expression remained unchanged as he said, "Don't underestimate him, Robin. We never underestimate any opponent in battle." "Yes, I understand. I didn't mean to underestimate that manbat, especially not while we were fighting. I was just stating a fact. Robin shrugged. Batman didn't comment on that and proceeded to walk into the laboratory first. However, as Batman and Robin entered the lab, the first thing they saw was the unconscious form of the manbat lying on the ground. "See, I told you he might be asleep." Robin immediately started speaking, but before he could finish, Batman, who had already pulled a batarang, suddenly said in a cold voice while looking into the depths of the laboratory, "Stop! Who are you?" At the end of the lab, by the window, a shadowy figure opened the window and seemed to be preparing to jump out. Swish! The shadow was looking surprised when a batarang hit the window frame. The shadow turned around, allowing Batman and Robin to see the person's true face. It was Batman? Robin's brain seemed to have crashed for a moment. The shadow in front of him was wearing a batsuit that resembled Batman, even the height was quite similar, but without Batman's muscular build. "Who do you think I am?" The person in front of them slowly spoke, his voice deep and rough, carrying a strange roughness. Behind him, the dark cape moved in the night wind, giving off an indescribable sense of loneliness. "I am vengeance, I am the night, I am." As he spoke, his tone grew louder, and his voice grew stronger. "Stop!" But just as he uttered his final words, Batman jumped out of nowhere, clenched his fist, and charged forward. The impostor Batman wasted no time and quickly escaped through the window. As he jumped out of the window, Batman caught up, his hands gripping the window frame, and he looked outside. He saw a black glider flying into the distance. "Why, are you so angry?" "I mean, Batman imitators have appeared in Gotham before." Robin approached, his voice filled with curiosity. "I'm not angry." Batman replied with a blank expression. He turned away from the window and headed towards the unconscious manbat. The top priority now was to find a way to restore him to normal. "Not angry." Robin glanced at the window frame that Batman had forcefully grabbed, seeing two clear handprints. Chapter 127, Chapter 127, Rehearsal. It's painful when you get disappointed by the person you look up to. Misaki Aizawa, Kaiku wa Maid Sama. A few hours later, in the Batcave, Kirk Langstrom woke up slowly and realized he was lying in a strange cave. The pitch-black rocks replaced the laboratory ceiling that he remembered. He tried to stand up but couldn't move at all. It felt like something was restraining his hands and feet. Now, Kirk was lying on a bed that looked like an operating table. His hands and feet were securely tightened with metal shackles, making it impossible for him to break free even with all his strength. The bed was strategically placed so that no matter which way Kirk turned his head, all he could see was a pile of rocks. Outside of Kirk's line of sight, not far from him, Batman sat in front of the Batcomputer and typed quickly on the keyboard. One of the Batcomputer's screens displayed a screen full of text and charts, including details related to DNA information. On other screens, there were lab reports of the manbat serum and the blood sample test results of Kirk Langstrom. The manbat serum altered Kirk Langstrom's genetic sequence. If we can rearrange the disrupted sequence back to the original human DNA sequence, maybe we can restore him to his human form. Batman pondered in his mind, trying to come up with a plan to reverse the effects of the manbat serum. Kirk Langstrom had committed a crime, and regardless of his state of mind at the time, he had to face the consequences under the law. However, Batman hoped that he could restore Kirk's human identity when the moment came for him to receive judgment. Until Kirk was back to normal, Batman wouldn't send him over to the GCPD or Blackgate Penitentiary. Next to him, Robin looked bored as he watched Batman input the information on the Batcomputer that he couldn't understand. Every now and then, he glanced at the restrained Kirk. "Where are you?" "Batman?" "Robin? I know you're here." Kirk called out weakly, his head still feeling foggy from just waking up. No one paid him any attention. The manbat serum is my life's work. I can't entrust it to anyone, even if that person is you, Batman. Kirk continued to shout. Still, there was no response. Pretending not to hear is pointless. I know you're here. I just want to ask, where is Francine? Can I see her? Kirk's tone softened as he pleaded to see his wife. It seemed like it was the right choice to give him a sedative. His mind seemed to be clearer now compared to before. Robin silently nodded to himself. After shouting for a long time, there was still no answer. Kirk's eyes dimmed, and he fell silent. Could it be that Batman and Robin weren't there? You can see Francine, but that's during visitation at the prison. Just then, a low, hoarse voice suddenly echoed from behind Kirk. Immediately afterward, a sensation of sharp pain surged from Kirk's neck. Batman is holding a syringe and injecting a chemical into Kirk's body. What is this? Ugh. Kirk didn't have time to react. A feeling of nausea rushed over him, causing him to vomit continuously. At the same time, he felt intense pain throughout his entire body. The huge body of the manbat, which stood more than 2 meters tall, started to shrink visibly, and his fur fell off, and his wings got smaller and smaller until they vanished. The whole process lasted for about 10 minutes. The terrifying face of the manbat disappeared, and it was replaced by a thin and weak middle-aged man. This is the actual appearance of Kirk Langstrom. Although Kirk had regained his human form, he had passed out due to the intense pain and had no idea when he would wake up. Robin! Prepare the Batmobile, it's time to take Kirk to GCPD. Batman shouted without turning his head and then released the shackles that bound Kirk's hands and feet. In fact, there was no need to release the shackles. After all, Kirk's body had shrunk by more than half, which made it easy for him to get his hands and feet from the original shackles. After a while, the Batmobile stopped in front of the GCPD headquarters. It was already 3 o'clock in the morning. Jim Gordon, who had received the news, rushed over like he had gotten a shot of adrenaline and quickly met Batman and the others. Due to the accident with Barbara, Jim had been investigating the Bat monster attacks for several days. But to his surprise, as he continued to investigate, he realized that he was not really investigating the Bat monster incident. Instead, he had stumbled upon corruption inside the West Side district of the Gotham City Police Department. There was no way around it. Gotham was a big city with a lot of different precincts. Only Gordon's headquarters, which had been under his control for a long time, had a pretty good environment, and corruption had gotten a lot better in recent years. As for the remaining 80 to 90% of the Gotham police officers, sigh, it's better not to bring it up. It was only in Gotham that you would see the police commissioner personally leading a team to investigate cases on the front lines. In a normal city, it would be a major case to see a police commissioner on the front lines. In short, Jim wanted to put all his efforts into the Bat monster, but his sense of responsibility forced him to also pay attention to the issues of the West Side precinct. He actually knew that even if he cleaned up the precinct, it would only last for a short time. It might even return to its original state once he returns to headquarters. Over the years, he has never been able to change this situation. However, there's a difference between not being able to change and not wanting to change. At least Jim did everything he could. As a police officer in Gotham, he faces temptation every day. Even the lowest-ranking beat cop has the nearby restaurant owner regularly giving him money to look after their place, let alone the higher-ranking officers. Bribes from the mob, the influence of capital, and rewards from the upper politicians. There are always people giving him money, both openly and secretly, all the time. Who can guarantee that they will always stay loyal to their principles? In the entire GCPD, only Jim, Harvey, and a few core members of the Major Crimes Unit can resist these temptations. Even if these few people can take care of themselves, how can they change the entire Gotham police force? Jim, who has shifted his focus, naturally finds it difficult to run a deep investigation into manbat. He thought it would take several months for any progress, but then he suddenly received some good news. Batman is back! And he had captured the manbat. Jim has long gotten used to Batman's mysterious appearances and disappearances. He doesn't want to know when he will come back. At this moment, he only wanted to properly confront the villain who had hurt his daughter. Seeing that the so-called Bat monster was actually a thin and obviously skinny scientist, Jim found it hard to believe. Then Batman told him the whole story, and Kirk's behavior was quite good. He confessed to all his crimes and even claimed that he wasn't in his right mind when he was in the manbat state and didn't remember attacking humans. Afterwards, Jim took Kirk and temporarily detained him in Blackgate Penitentiary, awaiting his trial in court. Due to the growing rumors of the Bat monster in Gotham, they had to give the citizens an explanation as soon as possible, so the trial of Kirk began the next day. Without interference from certain people, the entire trial process went exceptionally smoothly. The final verdict was not surprising at all. Kirk Langstrom was sentenced to lifelong treatment at Arkham Asylum. Chapter 128, Chapter 128, Impersonator. A wise man can learn more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. Niki Lauda, Rush. In Arkham for lifelong treatment. At a Gotham high school, a male student expressed surprise when learning about the trial result of the Bat monster. Wow, that's got to be the scariest punishment in the world. I've watched documentaries about Arkham Asylum, it's like hell on earth. Whoa, I couldn't believe it when I found out that the Bat monster from urban legends actually exists. Just a few days ago, I was unsure about whether it was true or not, but then the next day, I saw the news saying that the Bat monster had already been captured. Another classmate sounded in. Speaking of which, don't you guys think Dr. Langstrom is a bit pitiful? He just wanted to cure his own hearing, he didn't intend to hurt anyone, but the experiment's failure turned him into a monster. Who asked him to inject himself without proper testing? Biological experiments are difficult to guarantee. He should have considered that in advance. The first student provided a counter-opinion. What you're saying makes sense, but the thing is, his serum was meant for humans. Even if the experiment succeeded on mice or bats, that doesn't mean it would work on humans. I'm sure Dr. Langstrom must have tested the effects on rats beforehand. You can't expect him to do human trials, can you? The classmate who sympathized with Dr. Langstrom argued logically. To be honest, Dr. Langstrom could have easily found a homeless person on the street for human trials. How many biotech companies in Gotham haven't done that? But Dr. Langstrom didn't do that. I think it already proves that he is not evil-hearted. Similar conversations could be heard in different classrooms in the school, and citizens outside the school were also discussing similar topics. In Gotham, the media has provided reports on every supervillain that has appeared, especially the top criminals captured by Batman and sent to either jail or Arkham. Their life stories and identities would be revealed. For example, did you know? The Riddler enjoys giving riddles because he couldn't solve them when he was a child. Shocking! The Penguin carries an umbrella at all times due to a fear of sunlight. As for how much of it is true and how much is fake, it's up to the audience to judge. Of course, the media in Gotham wouldn't let the new rising supervillain, the manbat, pass by easily. They quickly realized that this guy seemed different from the lunatics they encountered. His attitude was surprisingly friendly, he basically answered any question. With little effort, the media learned about Kirk's history of losing his hearing, his tireless research, and the full story of how he turned into a monster due to side effects. What the media knows, the citizens know as well. The news in the past few days has been discussing Kirk Langstrom's story. Some people even feel pity for Kirk because of what he went through. They believed that the crimes committed by the manbat weren't the same as those committed by Kirk. Some very extreme people have even started asking the court to declare Kirk innocent and set him free. Of course, where some find Kirk pitiful, there are also those who believe that Kirk deserves his punishment. They argued that the manbat was Kirk, and Kirk was the manbat. Regardless of whether Kirk in his manbat form had full consciousness, they were one and the same. The crimes committed by the manbat should fall under the responsibility of Kirk. Otherwise, it would be unfair to the victims attacked by the manbat. These two groups of people are having heated discussions. But all of these opinions have no impact on Dean. Before the media started reporting on manbat, he already knew the whole story, so he could easily tell the difference between reliable information and information that was created to be confusing. Hey! Dick, why have you been so out of it lately? I remember you used to love discussing Gotham's supervillains, so why aren't you interested anymore? Dean turned around with a smile and asked Dick. At that moment, Dick squinted his eyes and weakly rested his head on the table, feeling defeated. I've been staying up all night, playing games, and I haven't slept for several days. Dick said it sleepily. Playing games, huh? Hearing Dick's excuse, Dean couldn't help but laugh to himself. Indeed, it's not unusual for high school boys to stay up all night playing games, but if it were Robin, it would be ridiculous. Wow! What game has gotten the Wayne family's young masters so obsessed? Tell me about it, maybe I'll give it a try sometime. While he knew it in his gut, Dean still showed a shocked and curious expression and asked Dick. Well, it's a virtual reality game created by Wayne Enterprises. It's currently in secret development and not publicly available yet. I shouldn't be telling you this, so please don't tell anyone. Dick hesitated and said, Sure, no worries. My lips are sealed. I won't let anyone know. Dean patted his chest and laughed. I hope you'll keep your word. Dick rolled his eyes. Of course, he couldn't have been playing games these past few days. He didn't even have the hobby of playing games. He got into Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer 40K just to fit in better with the class, not because he was really interested. After solving the manbat case, Batman and Robin didn't get a moment of peace because an impostor version of Batman appeared in Manbat's laboratory. Most importantly, it seemed that the impostor Batman knocked out the manbat himself with a table leg. Batman and Robin didn't tell anyone about this news, not even Kirk. The memory from his time as manbat was already blurry, and he had no memory of being knocked out by someone. Ever since Batman appeared in Gotham, there have been many imitators who have taken up his cause, and some of them were quite skilled. However, Batman didn't see this as a good thing. Every time an imitator appeared, he gave them a good scolding and took away their cheap suits and props. Typically, these imitators don't have much experience, and Batman is able to catch them in a matter of days. However, this time, it seemed they encountered a real challenge. They can't find this imitator anywhere. After several days of relentless searching, they haven't found a single trace of the imitator. Since the impostor Batman had escaped through the window, it was as if he had vanished into thin air. No matter how hard they searched, there were no clues to be found. Even when Batman checked the nearby surveillance records, there was no sign of him. This is a big problem. They've never encountered a situation like this before. While Batman is puzzled and even starting to suspect if the Joker is up to something, Dick has a suspicion that he's somehow familiar with this person who can't be found despite all the efforts. Chapter 129, Chapter 129, Declaration of War. It takes a mere second for treasure to turn to trash. Hisoka, Hunter's Hunter. Phantom Thief. When Dick expressed his guess, Batman showed clear doubts. He couldn't understand why a thief who used the art of his crimes through theft would disguise himself to be Batman and sneak into Kirk Langstrom's laboratory. Furthermore, this thief not only knocked out the manbat but also took a sample of the manbat serum from the lab. According to Kirk, he had created a total of 3 manbat serum samples, with only one being injected, leaving 2 remaining in the laboratory. But Batman and Dick only found 1 serum sample in the lab. This indicated that someone had taken the other sample, and the possible suspect was naturally the impostor who pretended to be Batman. This was why Batman attached such importance to this imitator. He was willing to work hard with Dick to look for this person day and night without resting. It's not possible that it's just because that person said something they shouldn't have, right? Batman has considered many possibilities. The Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, and Scarecrow are all possible, and that impostor might be one of them hired to steal the manbat serum. However, Dick provided him with a completely different idea. After careful consideration, Batman thought Dick's guess was reasonable. At least, purely in terms of ability, the Phantom Thief was capable of escaping without leaving a trace. So, they needed to keep an eye on the Phantom Thief. For the time being, there were no major crimes in Gotham, and Batman's main opponent was the Penguin, but the Penguin was always careful to leave no trace. To take him down completely would be a long-lasting battle. In this way, Batman could finally free up his hands and meet the Phantom Thief, the new supervillain of Gotham. But before that, Batman needed to carefully study every crime that the Phantom Thief had committed in the past. Batman's research was not the same as ordinary people watching a few news articles and imagining rough details from a few words. He collected all the video information about Phantom Thief on his Bat computer. This collection even had the knowledge about Phantom Thief that Dick and Batgirl discovered, which Batman would also review. Obviously, this task would require some time. However, this was good news for Dick. He could finally take some time to rest properly, as he was already familiar with Phantom Thief and didn't need to look up information like Batman did. Unfortunately, Dick underestimated the intensity of his work these past few days. Even after sleeping for 7 hours, he wasn't fully refreshed, and he had to force himself to go to school. After that, Dean saw Dick looking down and feeling sleepy. "Let me calculate. Bruce should be about to hold a high-profile press conference." Dick murmured weakly to himself. "Hey? What did you just say? Who's holding a press conference?" Dean was sitting in front of Dick, didn't quite hear Dick's mumbling, and asked curiously. "Oh, nothing. You'll find out soon enough." Dick buried his head in the desk and said, "For God's sake, please don't wake me up before the school bell rings." Looking at Dick, who was completely exhausted, Dean shook his head and turned back. "Before the school bell rings? Well, it has already rung. Luckily, the professor in this class is retiring next year and doesn't really care about classroom discipline, so let Dick sleep peacefully for a while." Thinking about this, Dean decided not to disturb Dick's rest. "But what's that press conference Dick mentioned? What does he mean by 'I'll find out soon'?" Dean wondered. He was frustrated because Dick spoke unclearly and his voice was low. Dean couldn't catch the complete information from his mumbles. With no other choice, Dean pulled out his phone and began searching online. The press conference held today in Gotham, HMM. Just as Dean opened Google to search for press conference, his attention was immediately caught by the first search result that appeared. Shocking! Wayne Enterprises chairman Bruce declares war on Phantom Thief in high-profile press conference. What in the world is this? Dean read the title once more. After reading it multiple times, he confirmed that the title was real, as he had seen it the first time. He wasn't seeing things. Then he noticed there was a live link to the press conference. How could he not click on that? Without hesitation, Dean clicked on the link, and the screen switched to the live broadcast of Wayne Enterprises' press conference. However, this press conference wasn't happening in Wayne Enterprises' press room or in a fancy hotel ballroom. It actually took place in an open area with a grass field that resembled a football field, a track, and a sizable seating area for the audience. It looked like a massive outdoor sports stadium. This place seems familiar. It's like Gotham City Stadium. Dean gazed thoughtfully as he observed the live broadcast. Gotham City Stadium is Gotham's largest sports arena and hosts almost all sports competitions, especially American football. For some reason, the citizens of Gotham have an unimaginable passion for this sport more than any other sport. At this moment, in the center of Gotham City Stadium, a temporary platform has been set up. In front of the platform, dozens of reporters sit on small chairs, all watching Bruce Wayne on the podium. Cameras of various types are set up on both sides, and the quick clicking of camera shutters fills the air. Standing beside Bruce is a middle-aged African-American man with white hair. He is Lucius Fox, the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. When Chairman Bruce sometimes needs to go on a business trip, he usually trusts the matters of Wayne Enterprises to Lucius. Lucius completes every instruction given by Bruce. He is the most trusted and valued person in Wayne Enterprises, as well as a strong supporter of Bruce's work. Mr. Wayne, when you held this press conference and claimed it was a public challenge to the Phantom Thief, is this true? A blonde female journalist, the familiar Vicky Vale, was the first to ask Bruce a question. "Oh, Vicky, it's been a while since we've seen each other, right? You've been in great shape lately. How about we have dinner together tonight, just like old times?" Bruce didn't give a straight answer but instead smiled, complimented Vicky's good figure, and extended an invitation to her. He truly seemed like a playboy, but that's how Bruce is perceived by the public, so that no one can find his behavior when it comes to Batman. Vicky shook her head and smiled wryly. "This is a press conference, Mr. Wayne. The event is being broadcast live. Please stay on track." Bruce grunted lightly, clearly not taking Vicky's words too seriously. He turned his attention to the camera positioned directly in front of him and confidently began speaking. "Then, I would like to give Ms. Vale and everyone present a clear answer here. I am serious about holding this press conference because I have noticed a growing trend in Gotham where many admire the Phantom Thief. I think this could lead a lot of young people in the wrong direction and make them want to be criminals. Therefore, today, on behalf of Wayne Enterprises, I will declare war on the Phantom Thief." Chapter 130, Chapter 130, The Bat Signal. A true hero isn't measured by the size of his strength, but by the strength of his heart. Zeus, Hercules 1997. I'm challenging Phantom Thief firmly and publicly, with one goal in mind, to bring him to justice. There was shock from the reporters when Bruce made this announcement, even though they were somewhat prepared before the press conference. How was he going to challenge Phantom Thief? Did he even know where he was? Why would the Phantom Thief even accept his challenge? Back then, Penguin had set traps for the Phantom Thief without success, and he never brought them to the public's attention. He was afraid that being too high profile would scare the Phantom Thief away. Penguin even forced the Chandler family to get the dragon's egg ruby necklace as bait. But he's holding a press conference and wants the whole world to know that he wants to catch the Phantom Thief. Without the rare treasure as a temptation, how could the Phantom Thief even possibly pay attention to him? Well, Wayne Enterprises is wealthy and influential. It's not difficult for them to create a few good gemstones that can outshine the dragon's egg ruby. But even if the Phantom Thief takes the bait, how can he guarantee that he will definitely beat him? Since the Phantom Thief's first crime, he has never failed. GCPD, Robin, Batgirl, and even the Penguin have all tried to deal with Phantom Thief, and they all failed. Bruce Wayne is a mere playboy with nothing but money. What makes him think he can catch the Phantom Thief? What if the Phantom Thief finds your public challenge too offensive and decides not to return the gemstone to him in anger? Then Wayne Enterprises would not only lose the gemstone but also its face. Bruce observed the expressions of the journalists below and understood their thoughts perfectly well. He didn't mind at all and continued his speech. I'm sure you've all heard of Aquaman from the Justice League, who is deeply connected to the legendary underwater kingdom called Atlantis. Bruce casually took out a sea blue crystal gemstone from the inside pocket of his jacket. Its color and shape were different from any common gemstone on the market. It was not just a simple sapphire. As we all know, Wayne Enterprises is one of the major sponsors of the Justice League, so I had the opportunity to meet all the members of the Justice League. This ocean gemstone was a gift from Aquaman when we met. It's said to be a specialty of Atlantis, and as far as I know, there's only one on the surface. I don't know the exact value of this gemstone because Atlantis gemstones have never appeared on the market, and the Atlanteans do not trade with surface humans. I'm not sure about the exchange rate for currency used in Atlantis. Bruce jokingly said. Hiss. Upon hearing Bruce's words, the reporters couldn't help but gasp. A gemstone from Atlantis? Are they supposed to see this thing for free? And what's with the casual attitude? Such a precious gemstone, and he doesn't even have any protective measures, not even gloves, and he's just pulling it out of his pocket? Sure, everyone knows the Waynes have a lot of money, but this is just too much. No one believed that Bruce was lying because Wayne Enterprises, along with other sponsors like Star Labs, Queen Industries, Cord Industries, and even the US government, did have an important role in paying for the Justice League. Even Lex Luthor wanted to contribute to the Justice League, but Superman turned him down because of the group's plenty of resources. In short, the little gemstone that Bruce received from a few Justice League members wasn't a big deal. Mr. Wayne, if the Phantom Thief stole the valuable treasure and didn't return it, wouldn't you worry about making Aquaman mad? Vicky asked with a frown. Isn't it a bit too much to use a gift from Aquaman as a prize for a challenge with Phantom Thief? Wayne Enterprises should have a lot of collections of valuable gemstones. You're right to be concerned, Ms. Vicky, but don't worry. According to my expectations, the Phantom Thief won't be able to steal it. Bruce confidently replied. Why are you so sure? Phantom Thief has never failed since he started. Where does your confidence come from? Vicky couldn't help but ask. That's a good question, and I'm about to say that. At this point, Bruce glanced at Lucius, who had been standing next to him the whole time, and stepped back to give him the spotlight. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this gentleman. He is Lucius Fox, the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, and he will now explain the source of my confidence. Lucius nodded and stood in front of Bruce. To start, I'd like everyone to watch a recording of an experiment. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge virtual screen appeared behind him. Then a short video started playing. The content of the video was very simple. It showed Wayne Enterprises testing the defensive capabilities of a small black box at a certain location. The box was about the size of a pencil case. But the test equipment they used was the main cannon of 3 tanks, fired at the same time from 3 different directions toward the box. The powerful explosion sent the small box flying hundreds of meters away. However, when the experimenters found the box, it was completely intact, without even a scratch. The box in the video is the latest product from Wayne Enterprises' R&D department. It is made from a new alloy of promethium metal mixed with iron, chromium, zinc, and other elements. Its strength is, as demonstrated in the video, capable of withstanding heavy firepower without leaving a mark, even though it's just the size of a pencil case. Lucius explained. We've decided to seal the ocean gemstone in a larger container made from the same material. Unless the Phantom Thief uses even more powerful heavy firepower, it will be impossible for him to open it. Lucas clapped his hands, and 5 or 6 people brought out a large object covered with black cloth from behind the stage. The reporters were interested, but they didn't know what was going on inside. Thud. As it was placed on the table, it made a heavy sound. Lucius walked over and lifted the black cloth. Immediately, the audience let out a surprised cry. Ah! It was a huge searchlight. The object they brought out was a bat signal. The bat symbol you see here is actually a container made out of promethium alloy. I will put the ocean gem inside it. Lucas explained. Bruce approached the reporters and said, "That's right, the container isn't transparent, so you can't see if the gem is inside or not. So, I'm going to put the gem inside right now in front of all of you." Bruce took out the ocean gemstone and placed it inside the bat symbol of the bat signal. From today onwards, this bat signal will be placed here 24/7, and surveillance cameras will be continuously watching to ensure that I don't secretly replace the gem with a fake one. This isn't a gemstone exhibition, it's a challenge to Phantom Thief. After completing these steps, Bruce turned towards the camera once again, as if invisibly declaring war on the Phantom Thief. Phantom Thief, I've prepared the stage for you. Now, let's see if you dare to take on this challenge. Chapter 131, Chapter 131, Abrupt. Your story may not have such a happy beginning, but that does not make you who you are, it is the rest of it who you choose to be. Soothsayer, Kung Fu Panda 2. Gotham Academy. After watching the entire Wayne press conference, Dean fell into deep contemplation. Bruce is Batman, so Bruce's challenge can be seen as Batman's challenge. So, does that mean I've been challenged by Batman? Dean suddenly felt a bit pressured. In a previous life, there was a popular unspoken rule in the DC world, which was to never fight Batman. Even people who had never read DC comics might have heard that saying. After crossing over, although this saying wasn't popular in Gotham, everyone knew that provoking Batman would not end well. From what Dean had learned about feats from Batman fans in the past, the best way to handle this situation was to ignore it and pretend he didn't know. Batman always wins when fighting. Then it's best if I don't fight him at all. Dean couldn't help but think he was a genius. But sometimes, he can't just look at the pros and cons, they are not as simple as they seem. If Dean really chose to ignore Bruce's public challenge to him, it meant he admitted to fearing Batman deep down, and the damage to his mental health was difficult to estimate. Moreover, the fearless and romantic image of the Phantom Thief he had worked so hard to create would also be ruined. All the efforts at magic he had put in over the years would become a joke. Dean couldn't accept such a result, no matter what. Since he had chosen to cause trouble in Gotham as the Phantom Thief, he was prepared to be tracked by Batman. How could he back down because of this? Bruce, no, Batman's challenge, Dean accepted it. He not only had to accept this challenge, but he also planned to defeat Batman. Ahem, of course, not defeat in a physical fight, but successfully stealing the ocean gem from Atlantis under the eyes of the public and then successfully escaping. However, to say that Dean wasn't nervous at all would be deceiving himself. From the moment he watched the live broadcast of the press conference, his brain had been thinking about what kind of plan he could use to steal the gem while Batman was watching. Time passed slowly, and it was soon time to finish school. Ding-ling-ling. The bell rang, and the students in the classroom began to pack up their school bags and leave. Yawn. At this moment, Dean, who was pondering deeply, heard a yawn behind him. Dick woke up from his deep sleep at the desk behind Dean. He stretched and yawned. Wow, he slept from the start of school until now. Dean thought to himself. Dean then remembered that Dick had fallen asleep during the first class because he was busy thinking about Batman's challenge and didn't notice that Dick had been sleeping all this time. With so much noise from multiple classes, the ringing of bells, and the sound of teachers' lectures and classmates chatting, Dick managed to sleep through it all. Dean couldn't help but wonder how Dick had mastered the skill of sleeping through anything. Is class over, Dean? Why is the classroom suddenly empty? A still groggy Dick asked as he looked around at the empty classroom. Well, the class schedule was changed at the last minute, and it's now time for basketball class. I was just about to wake you up. Dean explained earnestly. Can you explain why you brought your backpack for basketball class? Dick looked skeptically at the freshly packed backpack on Dean's desk. I'm a good student. Dick couldn't help but roll his eyes and say, come on, don't think you can trick me with these childish tricks. I have a watch, you know. Wait, what? When Dick looked at his own watch, he was surprised to see that the hour and minute hands showed 8:20, and it was clearly daytime. It couldn't be 8 p.m. at this time since it was morning, and it could only be 8 a.m. See, I told you the first class was changed to basketball. Dean said with an I told you so expression. At that moment, Dick almost doubted whether what Dean said was true, that the class had been changed to basketball. Luckily, Dick quickly regained his senses, and the grogginess from just waking up disappeared. He immediately noticed something fishy. Wait! Look at the direction of the sun and the lighting outside. It's clearly around 4 in the afternoon. Thinking this, Dick gave Dean a disapproving look and said, "Are you bored or something? Why did you mess with my watch just to trick me?" "I'm not bored, it's quite funny." Dean chuckled. "By the way, I slept the entire day, and not a single teacher came to wake me up." Dick scratched his head and asked, Which teacher would dare wake you up? If you violate any other school rule, maybe someone will say something, but sleeping? They'd probably be glad you're asleep." Dean rolled his eyes with disdain. "All right, you talk too much, so let's just go." Since Dick hadn't opened his backpack all day, Dean didn't need to wait for him to pack up. He just slung his bag over his shoulder and left. The two of them said their goodbyes and went back home. When night came, they both left their homes. A few hours later, as the night grew deeper. Gotham City Stadium. In the center of the lush football field stood a huge, towering spotlight larger than a person. The center of the spotlight had a pitch-black bat symbol. When the spotlight turned on, a part of the light would be blocked, and when it shone toward the sky, it would project a famous bat symbol. This was the most fascinating and iconic symbol of Gotham, the bat signal. At this very moment, a circle of cameras is encircling bat signal, capturing all angles without any blind spots. The footage was being streamed in real time on Wayne Enterprises' newly launched live streaming website. This process has been ongoing since Bruce placed the Ocean Gem into the bat signal during his press conference. It was his promise to ensure a 24/7 live stream until the Phantom Thief arrived to accept the challenge and steal the Ocean Gem. It would remain in the bat signal until then. Behind the cameras, a group of reporters and paparazzi are eagerly waiting for the Phantom Thief's appearance. They took turns watching the scene. Outside of this area is a football field, and there were many security personnel and police officers stationed around the perimeter. To make room for the normal audience that is here to witness Bruce's challenge to Phantom Thief, they have been seated in the stands outside the sports field. This setup stops Phantom Thief from taking advantage of the crowds and makes sure that the audience can watch Phantom Thief's show without any problems. But maybe because of the recent press conference and the short amount of time for word to spread, there aren't that many usual audience members here tonight, just a few more than there are reporters. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, a row of sounds echoed from the sky. Everyone looks up and sees dozens of white triangular gliders gliding through the sky. They recognize these gliders all too well, as they are Phantom Thief's often used props. This time, what was different was that there were no dummies or the Phantom Thief himself beneath these dozens of gliders. They were just empty, flying freely. As for the purpose of these gliders, only Phantom Thief himself can answer that question. These dozens of gliders start flying randomly above the stadium, stunning the people watching. Bang! 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 Without any warning, all the gliders explode at the same time, engulfing the entire sky in rising white smoke. Then, an elegant and charming voice echoed from all directions, the voice of the Phantom Thief. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have come here as invited." Chapter 132, Chapter 132, Rehearsal. God would never put us through all this suffering if He didn't think we could bear it. Yuaki Kano, Sao. Phantom Thief. He actually came so quickly. All the reporters present had surprised expressions on their faces. They hadn't expected Phantom Thief to show up so soon after the press conference this morning. Unfortunately, they only heard his voice and didn't see him anywhere. The reporters and paparazzi started frantically searching for the Phantom Thief's figure. But besides the dense white fog in the sky, they didn't see anything. Some people tried to locate him based on the source of his voice, but Phantom Thief's voice seemed to be coming from all directions. Anyone could hear Phantom Thief's voice from any direction, and the loudness and power of the sound were the same. Where was the Phantom Thief? No one knew. They only knew that the Phantom Thief was here, and that was enough. Meanwhile, Bruce, Lucius, and Jim rushed over from one side of the stadium. Not long ago, they were discussing the stadium's security arrangements. Bruce had held a press conference and made it publicly known that he was going to challenge the Phantom Thief. Of course, Jim couldn't possibly stay out of it. As soon as he heard about the press conference, he hurried over to negotiate with Bruce. At first, Bruce wasn't particularly eager to have Jim bring a large number of people to guard the Ocean Jewel. He advised Jim not to waste too many resources from the GCPD on Phantom Thief and suggested that it would be better to prioritize dealing with more dangerous criminals. Obviously, Jim didn't agree with him. Jim believed that the Phantom Thief's real crimes were not that serious but that he could be a huge threat and should be taken seriously. Despite the strength of the GCPD, they needed to be more fair in dealing with those extremely dangerous supervillains. There was no need to go all out against ordinary, everyday criminals. It seemed that it would be best to select some less dangerous supervillains to deal with. Jim even started to feel like his officers were putting too much effort into catching the Phantom Thief recently. Many police officers were ready to put robbery and napping cases on hold so they could help catch the Phantom Thief. This situation worried Jim. In any case, Jim and Bruce talked for a long time. Just as they were about to reach a decision, they suddenly noticed dozens of gliders appearing over Gotham City Stadium. Then they heard Phantom Thief say that he had come as invited. The three of them didn't waste any time and immediately rushed towards the bat signal. "Jim, I've heard that the Phantom Thief always sends a notice before committing a crime. Why didn't he send one this time?" Lucius asked curiously as they walked. "I thought he might disguise himself as someone and deliver the notice letter to us. Normally, that would be the case. But given the current situation, Phantom Thief seems to be planning to show up on his own time, which has never happened before." Jim replied with a frown. "Who knows, maybe my challenge was too sudden, and Phantom Thief didn't have time to prepare a notice," Bruce assumed. At that moment, the three of them reached the location of the bat signal. It was just like the rest of the reporters, who were all waiting more than 10 meters away from bat signal. The circle of cameras in the middle not only broadcasted bat signal's activities but also acted as a barricade. Bruce had instructed his team to secure these cameras in place and set up a barricade to prevent anyone from getting through, including himself. According to Bruce, he had complete confidence in the bat signal, made from promethium alloy, and didn't need anyone up close to protect it. He was more concerned that the Phantom Thief might disguise the people guarding it. As for Bruce's real thoughts, no one could guess them, and no one wanted to try. Everyone just assumed that he was just being rich and stubborn. If the Phantom Thief plans to steal the ocean's gem now, things will get complicated. Jim looked at the sudden layer of white mist covering the field and said it gravely. "Our current security measure is too simple, and it's difficult to stop Phantom Thief's sudden move," he continued. "Wait, have you guys noticed something off? In this open area, smoke would quickly dissipate, but that layer of white fog isn't showing any signs of dissipating." Lucius suddenly spoke up. "So, what does that mean?" Jim didn't quite understand what he was getting at. "I know of a type of gas with the code name XXXXXXX that can stay for a long time, and there's only one company in Gotham producing it," Lucius said so solemnly. "In other words, if we carefully investigate the recent transaction records or production records of that company, we might find some trail about Phantom Thief." At these words, a smile of joy appeared on Jim's face. He quickly took out his phone from his pocket and ordered the GCPD headquarters to dispatch personnel to investigate that company. Meanwhile, Bruce nodded slightly in his mind. He had actually noticed the abnormality in the white fog above, and when he thought about what Lucius had just said, he realized that Lucius might be right. However, he didn't intend to reveal his ideas in front of Jim. After cooperating for so many years, Lucius naturally understood Bruce's thoughts, so he explained them to Jim on his behalf. As the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, Lucius Fox's daily work is either worrying about the future development of Wayne Enterprises and dealing with the struggles among shareholders, or using all his spare time to help Batman design new equipment. From the Batsuit to the utility belt, the Batmobile, and the Batwing, Lucius had put a lot of effort into designing and manufacturing them. From the fact that he can instantly recognize the source of the white mist in the sky, it is clear that he has a wealth of knowledge and is familiar with the major industries in Gotham. Also, it was a rare skill of his to understand Bruce's thoughts within safe limits and speak up for him. It was one of the reasons Bruce thought so highly of him, since Lucius's personal skills were clearly excellent. Otherwise, why would Bruce trust him so much? It's because Lucius' personal abilities are too strong. Phantom Thief, you said you were here by invitation, right? Then come out, you can't steal my gem under the white fog in the sky. At this moment, Bruce took out a microphone from somewhere and shouted loudly at the sky. Wow, it's Bruce Wayne, Gotham's most famous and dazzling prince. This must be our first meeting, Mr. Wayne, right? As Bruce's voice fell, the Phantom Thief's voice sounded again. Puff. Only a slight explosion sound was heard, and a cloud of smoke rose from beside the bat signal. This cloud of smoke was clearly not the same as the white fog in the sky. After it appeared, it quickly dissipated. In the dispersing smoke, a pure and elegant figure appeared. It's him. It's Phantom Thief. He's really here. As soon as they saw this figure, the surrounding reporters exploded. They took out their personal cameras and desperately pressed the shutter button to take pictures of the Phantom Thief. Those without cameras took out their phones to take photos. Mr. Wayne, according to my usual crimes, I should have sent you a notice letter in advance, but your challenge came too suddenly, and I really didn't have time to prepare. The Phantom Thief looked at Bruce and sighed. But without a notice letter, you won't be able to predict my action plan and timing, which is unfair to you. If I were to steal the gem right now, the security measures here are not in place, which is also unfair to you. With confidence in his voice, Phantom Thief continued, so, I'm not here today to take the gem. This is just a rehearsal. Chapter 133, Chapter 133, Magic Reveal. Nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Rocky from Rocky Balboa, 2006. Rocky Balboa 2006. A rehearsal. Hearing the Phantom Thief's words, Bruce squinted his eyes slightly and asked, "What do you mean?" "It's quite simple. Next, I will demonstrate the method of stealing the gem in front of everyone, but I won't actually take the gem today." The Phantom Thief replied with a faint smile. "Then, 3 days from now, at this exact time, I will use the same method to steal the gem." "Oh." Bruce looked at the Phantom Thief with interest. "Are you confident that your technique won't be revealed by us if you dare to demonstrate a heist in front of so many people and say that you'll use the same method to steal the gem next time?" "Mr. Wayne, did you know? The greatest magic in the world is not something that surprises people just once, but something that surprises them every time they see it." The Phantom Thief said it in a mysterious tone. "I can see that you have an extraordinary pursuit of magic. It's no wonder some say that the Phantom Thief is a magician capable of creating miracles." Bruce stared at the Phantom Thief closely. "Hearing this title from you makes me a bit embarrassed. When compared to what you have accomplished, my abilities are far from being considered miracles." The Phantom Thief replied with what seemed like a hidden meaning. Only Bruce and Lucius in the present, who know Batman's secret, can understand the hidden meaning behind the Phantom Thief's words. The other people present, whether they are journalists from major media outlets or Jim from the GCPD, are unaware of the fact that Batman is Bruce. So, When Phantom Thief mentioned Bruce's accomplished, they interpreted it as referring to his important role in the development and construction of Gotham through Wayne Enterprises over the years. However, when it came to Bruce's personal abilities, like how he runs Wayne Enterprises while also socializing with a lot of women and going to events for the upper class, his ability to handle his time so well could also be seen as a kind of miracle. If he also considers his time spent as Batman, it can be said that he has surpassed ordinary miracles. As expected, just like Dick and Alfred said, the Phantom Thief has discovered our identities. Bruce remained calm on the surface, but he started pondering on the inside. How did he find out my identity? If he knows, why is he helping us keep it a secret? Batman's real identity has always been the most valuable information in Gotham's underworld. The Phantom Thief could have easily exchanged this information for a huge amount of money, but he didn't. Why? What is his real purpose? Bruce was used to using criminal psychology to understand the supervillain's motives. But with Phantom Thief, it seemed like only the personality disorder of performance-type criminals fit with Phantom Thief's criminal logic. If the person who pretended to be Batman in the manbat incident is actually the Phantom Thief, then it is clear that he cannot understand a simple performance-type personality. Secondly, after Bruce had studied all of Phantom Thief's past crime videos and every word and action during this time, he found Phantom Thief to be really strange. In short, Phantom Thief's actions are all like those of those crazy people on the surface, but he doesn't have the same psychological personality as a crazy person. Don't joke around anymore, Phantom Thief. At this moment, Jim gets angry and starts yelling at the Phantom Thief. What rehearsal? What demonstration method? Do you think you're doing a magic show? Do you think that everyone will put up with your tricks? No. No, you're just a criminal, everything you do is just to commit crimes. Jim points at the Phantom Thief and declares loudly. GCPD will never tolerate such obvious disrespect for the law, Phantom Thief. There's no crime rehearsal today, and you won't have another chance to commit a crime. I'm going to arrest you right here and now. After saying this, Jim ran toward the perimeter. He broke through and cleared a path by destroying the cameras blocking his way. Lucius quickly goes up to stop him. Commissioner Gordon, calm down and think rationally. Rational? What do you want me to be rational about? Jim asks angrily with a dark expression. A criminal is in front of me saying he wants to demonstrate his criminal methods in front of everyone, and in a few days, he intends to commit the crime using the same method in the same place. Then you tell me to act rational. The Phantom Thief's actions are basically a slap in the face to Jim and the rest of the police force. He is mocking them and indicating that they are useless by letting them see how the crime will be done but still not being able to catch him. How could Jim tolerate this? He couldn't tolerate it at all. Mr. Fox, the Phantom Thief, is currently directly in front of us and is in an open area. He can't fly from the ground, and there are no large crowds nearby for him to disguise himself and hide. He has nowhere to escape. This is the perfect opportunity to capture the Phantom Thief. You can't possibly tell me that he will disappear into the ground, right? Jim urgently asked Lucius to take a look at the environment around Phantom Thief. Do you know how he suddenly appeared there? Jim didn't know what to say at first when Lucius asked. Commissioner Gordon, calm down and think for a moment. The bat signal is in the center of the football field, surrounded by a perimeter that no one can get through. We didn't see anything fall from the sky just now. In theory, Phantom Thief shouldn't have been able to get in there, but now he's already inside. Lucius explained. If we don't know how Phantom Thief got in, you running in to catch him will only make him leave quickly. We wouldn't even know where to chase him. It's better to see what tricks the Phantom Thief will show us. Maybe we can find some clues. Phantom Thief values his reputation. He said he wouldn't take the gem today, so the gem won't be stolen. Why don't we see what he's going to do next? Lucius' rational suggestion calmed Jim down a bit, and he stopped trying to break through the perimeter of the cameras. It seems like some of our viewers are very anxious, so I'll give them what they want. The Phantom Thief noticed Jim's actions and suddenly chuckled. He walked to the front of the huge bat signal, with his back facing the front light bulb. Then he slowly raised his right hand. He snapped his fingers. Snap! Thump! Immediately after the snap, there was a sudden muffled noise from the sky. All the people looked up in surprise. From the thick white fog in the sky, a massive white cloth appeared out of nowhere and began drifting towards the Phantom Thief. The cloth wasn't falling quickly, but it wasn't moving slowly either. It took about 3 to 4 seconds to float down and perfectly cover the bat signal behind the Phantom Thief. The white cloth was quite large and completely covered every corner of the bat signal, with some extra fabric even spreading on the ground. At this moment, no one outside could see any details of the bat signal. The Phantom Thief looked at everyone, and a faint smile curled on his lips. Just a friendly reminder, from now on, please don't blink because what's coming next will be a moment to witness a miracle. Chapter 134, Chapter 134, The Mysterious Disappearance. That's essentially how I feel about life. Full of loneliness and misery and suffering and unhappiness, and it's all over much too quickly. Alvey, Annie Hall 1977. A moment to witness a miracle. When the Phantom Thief said these words, all the reporters present became excited. The last time Phantom Thief said these words was during the Dragon's Egg Ruby Necklace heist, and then he performed a fantastic trick where he made it rain backward in front of everyone. So, what shocking performance will Phantom Thief bring this time? They were all looking at the Phantom Thief and the white-clothed bat signal, ready to get the perfect close-up shot. It wasn't just the journalists, the paparazzi were even more excited. A lot of unknown paparazzi photographers were lucky enough to capture some close-up shots of Phantom Thief stealing in the past. Many newspapers paid a lot for these shots, which helped them make a lot of money. It's really something to envy. Just thinking about it, if someone went to all that trouble and risked getting caught by taking secret photos of celebrities' affairs or cheating. That would only make a small amount of money, and even if someone followed them for 10 days or even a month, they might not get any good photos. Even if they do get good shots, they could be sued, and even if they win, they could be fined. In short, taking pictures of the Phantom Thief doesn't carry any risks, and the pay is high. There's no need to worry about missing this opportunity. As long as Phantom Thief sends a notice or someone publicly challenges him like this time, he will show up and do what he's supposed to do without fear. Come on, Phantom Thief, go ahead, show us what you've got. At this moment, the Phantom Thief turned around to face the bat signal, then reached out and grabbed the white cloth covering it. He turned back toward the audience and spoke with a mysterious smile. Let me tell you a secret, this cloth has magical powers. As soon as he finished speaking, the Phantom Thief pulled the cloth outward, completely removing the white cloth covering the bat signal and revealing what was underneath. Hey? There was nothing underneath the white cloth. The massive bat signal, which was taller than a person, had disappeared. At this moment, the Phantom Thief flicked the white cloth he had removed, causing it to fall like a white carpet over the area where the bat signal was before. No matter where people looked, they couldn't see any trace of the bat signal. I'm sorry, everyone. Wayne Enterprises made this bat logo out of promethium alloy, and I couldn't think of a good way to solve it. So, I had no choice but to steal the entire bat signal. The Phantom Thief sighed and said something in a tone that made people believe that he truly didn't have a solution. How is this possible? In that instant, almost everyone present couldn't help but open their mouths wide. At first, they thought the Phantom Thief might take the bat logo off the bat signal or use the white cloth to get the gemstone out of the signal. They didn't think he would be able to make the whole bat signal disappear. During the whole process just now, Phantom Thief never touched the bat signal. He just dropped a white cloth from above to cover the bat signal, and then he pulled off the white cloth, and the covered bat signal disappeared. Is this really magic and not just a trick? Could it be that the piece of white cloth the phantom thief used had some kind of magical power? In the world of magic, making a large object disappear wasn't that rare. There was a famous magician who even made an entire airplane disappear. But everyone knows that these tricks can only be done in a carefully set up place with the help of many people, and that most of them can only make things disappear and can't bring them back. Bruce chose the location and even prepared the bat signal, so Phantom Thief didn't have to make any of those preparations. The Phantom Thief willingly accepted the challenge and had no opportunity to set up the scene. Unless the Phantom Thief hired Bruce Wayne as a helper, which is clearly impossible. If Bruce were performing this magic, people wouldn't be as surprised because Bruce would have had plenty of time to get ready. For example, he could have dug a hole under the bat signal's lawn and put an iron support with a moving structure on top of it to keep it from falling. When the mechanism is triggered, the bat signal will automatically drop underground. Obviously, Phantom Thief didn't have these conditions, and yet he managed to create an impossible miracle that truly surprises people. Don't forget, the bat signal is taller than a person and weighs over a ton. Could the Phantom Thief move it with his small size? He couldn't possibly move it. But the fact remains that the bat signal disappeared, which was impossible, and something the Phantom Thief made happen right in front of them. At this moment, no one can imagine what kind of magical principle the Phantom Thief used to achieve this. They could only explain it as magic. Mr. Fox, did you figure out the method Phantom Thief used just now? Jim turned to Lucius and asked. Well. Lucius shook his head, which showed that he didn't know. Then he looked over at Bruce and saw that he was furrowing his brows and pondering. I mentioned earlier that today's visit was just a rehearsal, and I wouldn't take the gemstone with me. So now, I will bring back the bat signal and the gemstone. The Phantom Thief kept talking, which surprised everyone in the audience. The disappearance magic trick of the bat signal was so shocking that they forgot for a moment that Phantom Thief had said earlier that what they saw today was just a rehearsal. In other words, the Phantom Thief not only made the bat signal disappear but also had to bring it back. The Phantom Thief took a deep breath, bent down, and grabbed both corners of the white cloth on the lawn with both hands. He slowly lifted the cloth. When it was raised to about half a person's height, Phantom Thief's hands stopped as if he thought lifting it slowly was too inefficient. Then Phantom Thief let out a deep breath and looked much calmer. He shook the white cloth up and down quickly with both hands, like he was shaking a blanket. The white cloth started to ripple like waves. In the middle of this shaking, Phantom Thief suddenly pulled the cloth outward, just like when he made the bat signal disappear. The entire cloth was lifted up from the lawn. A shocking scene happened. The bat signal, which had vanished without a trace, had actually come back. It stood behind Phantom Thief just like it had been before, as if everything that had happened a moment ago was just a dream. Well then, let's end today's rehearsal here. See you all in 3 days. The Phantom Thief bowed to the crowd and then disappeared in a strange puff of smoke. Chapter 135, Chapter 135, What Happened? It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Albus Dumbledore, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The Phantom Thief was like an invisible wind, he showed up out of nowhere and left just as quickly. No one knew how he left, just like no one knew how he made the big and heavy bat signal disappear and reappear. As the white figure disappeared, the thick white fog over Gotham City Stadium slowly began to dissipate, but it would take some time to completely clear. This is the end. Looking at the bat signal that remained in the field due to the Phantom Thief's leaving, the surrounding audience was suddenly filled with a sense of melancholy. Although they had witnessed an incredibly amazing magic show, it was a bit short. It had been less than 10 minutes since dozens of Phantom Thief gliders had suddenly appeared in the sky. The actual magic the Phantom Thief performed was only 2 or 3 minutes long. This made the people in the stadium feel unsatisfied. They felt it would have been nice to see more of Phantom Thief, even if it wasn't magic tricks. What followed was intense anticipation for the Phantom Thief's official crime in 3 days. Today was just a rehearsal, so it would be reasonable to make some improvements and upgrades for the actual performance, right? Mr. Wayne, Mr. Fox, I think we should take out the ocean gemstone from the bat signal and verify it carefully to avoid any unexpected situations. Commissioner Gordon said to Bruce and Lucius seriously. I know you both have confidence in the promethium alloy, and I also believe Phantom Thief will keep his word not to steal the gem today. But it's important to do regular checks to make sure nothing unexpected happens. Bruce nodded in agreement and glanced at Lucius, who immediately understood and turned to Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon, please come with me. We'll get the tools for removing the cameras and the high-frequency vibrational molecular knife used to cut the promethium alloy. Jim nodded and was about to leave with Lucius. However, just as the two were about to take a step, Lucius's phone suddenly rang. I'm sorry, Commissioner Gordon, I need to take this call. This is a work-related phone, and it doesn't usually ring. Lucius apologized and pulled out his phone from his pocket. Jim didn't mind, and he shook his head. After all, Phantom Thief was no longer here, and their work was just regular checks and nothing urgent. Lucius took out his phone from his pocket and answered the call. A few seconds later, his expression suddenly changed, and he spoke into the phone in a serious tone. Okay, I understand the situation now. Don't panic for now, the priority is maintaining the entire live broadcast feed. I'll send someone to fix the cameras as soon as possible. Commissioner Gordon was confused by his words, but he could tell from Lucius' expression that the call brought some bad news. What's going on? Bruce asked beside them, noticing the change in Lucius. Lucius put down the phone and looked grim as he turned to Jim and Bruce. We've got a problem with the cameras we're using for the live broadcast. Hearing this, Bruce's eyes narrowed, and he asked, what kind of problem? Just a few minutes ago, an employee responsible for operating the Gotham City Stadium live broadcast website called me. He informed me that about 3 or 4 minutes ago, 7 out of our total 68 live broadcast feeds suddenly went black. After investigating, they were sure it wasn't a software issue, the live broadcast system was functioning perfectly. Lucius explained while glancing at the 68 cameras surrounding the bat signal. There were 68 cameras in total, each connected to a live broadcast feed. Why aren't the cameras placed next to each other? This is because cameras are not limited to capturing only one line, but rather they can capture a fan-shaped area, so there's no need for so many of them. The cameras are connected by fences, forming a blockade that separates the inside and outside. A perimeter connecting the cameras creates a barrier between the inside and the outside. These cameras are not ordinary cameras but high-speed cameras made with Wayne technology that can take as many as 2 million frames per second. This would make it suitable to analyze the Phantom Thief's movements frame by frame. Lucius continued, they suspect that 7 cameras either broke down or were tampered with on purpose, which caused footage from those angles to be lost during the live broadcast. About 3 to 4 minutes ago. Bruce narrows his eyes slightly and says, that's the same time when Phantom Thief made the bat signal disappear, right? If Phantom Thief destroyed those 7 cameras, it means that there is a high possibility that these cameras captured flaws in his method. When Phantom Thief made bat signal disappear, he was actually quite a distance away from the others. In this situation, even with Bruce's sharp eyesight, he would find it difficult to see every small movement the Phantom Thief made. However, high-speed cameras with a 360-degree view angle would capture all of Phantom Thief's actions unless Phantom Thief had superhuman speed, which would make it impossible to avoid the capture of high-speed cameras. Unfortunately, the Phantom Thief is not stupid. He wouldn't expose crucial information to the high-speed cameras. There must be some important clues hidden within the malfunctioning cameras. Lucius, is it possible to recover the footage from the malfunctioning cameras? Bruce asked. It's hard to say. It depends on what method Phantom Thief used to tamper with the cameras. If it was a rough way, then the chances of repair are very slim. Lucius shakes his head. Damn that Phantom Thief. He's probably somewhere having a good laugh right now. After Bruce and Lucius discuss the situation, Jim understands the situation about the cameras and immediately curses the phantom thief. Then he turned serious and said, "You haven't revealed anything about the high-speed cameras to the public." It should have caught Phantom Thief off guard, but he still managed to tamper with the cameras. How did he know that these cameras might capture flaws in his method? Hearing Jim's suspicions, Bruce and Lucius both have solemn expressions on their faces. There is no need to mention Phantom Thief, but any magician with even a little bit of fame in the world can do tricks of the hand so fast that ordinary cameras can't capture clear images. If he didn't know in advance that the cameras were high speed, there would be no reason for the Phantom Thief to destroy them. If it was a natural malfunction of the cameras, it would be too coincidental for 7 of them to malfunction at the same time. The only people who knew about the high-speed cameras were Bruce and Lucius, as well as the employees responsible for managing the live broadcast. Jim's point was, that there might be a traitor within Wayne Enterprises. No, more precisely, the Phantom Thief infiltrated Wayne Enterprises to steal information. Bruce and Lucius exchanged glances and decided to investigate when the Phantom Thief infiltrated Wayne Enterprises and leaked information about the high-speed cameras. "Lucius, you and Commissioner Gordon should go check if Phantom Thief tampered with the bat signal. I'll have someone else come to deal with the camera issue." Bruce instructed Lucius and then left on his own to make a call. Chapter 136, Chapter 136, Provoked. You need to stop focusing on the darkness behind you. The past is the past. Nothing can change what we've done. Walter White, Breaking Bad. After some time, all the inspections were completed. First, Lucius and Jim carefully inspected the bat signal for a long time but found no signs of tampering. Then, they used a specialized high-frequency vibrating molecular blade to cut through promethium to remove the bat signal's cover and cut it open. The Atlantis Ocean gem was indeed still inside. After Bruce looked at the gem, it was confirmed that the ocean gemstone was real. It must be said that promethium is incredibly strong, and even a tool capable of cutting at the molecular level took quite some time to open the bat signal's glass. Afterward, they had to use a new bat signal's glass to place the ocean gem back inside and seal it again. It was a tiresome and troublesome task, but it was necessary. As for the cameras, Lucius's concerns unfortunately came true. Those 7 malfunctioning cameras had small timer electromagnetic explosion devices installed inside them, with a very small impact that could disable just one camera. When the countdown on these devices reached 0, those cameras were shut down, and they didn't capture any footage of the Phantom Thief, making the bat signal disappear after that. Despite the regret, the fact remained that they missed crucial evidence to expose the Phantom Thief. Jim returned to GCPD with a sense of frustration. He needed to arrange personnel for Bruce's upcoming confrontation with the Phantom Thief in 3 days. Even though Bruce always said he didn't want the police to protect the gem up close, it was clear that on the day of Phantom Thief's crime, a lot of people would gather at the Gotham City Stadium. Even if it was just to maintain the order, they would need a lot of police there. After all, Phantom Thief's situation was different from that of certain celebrities, and Gotham's situation was different from other cities. When there were more people, the level of danger could skyrocket. Therefore, Jim took charge of the entire audience section and the outside perimeter of Gotham City Stadium, while Bruce handled the football field where the bat signal was located. On the other hand, Bruce's mood wasn't as up and down as Jim's. When Bruce lost the footage from 7 cameras, he did lose an important key, but it also led him to another clue. Back in the Batcave, Bruce sat down in front of the Bat computer to start his night shift. He thought about many different possibilities that all needed to be checked one by one. Shortly after, Dick pushed a very broken Batcycle into the Batcave while suited up as Robin. His first words when returning were directed at Bruce: "How did it feel meeting Phantom Thief for the first time? This is the 3rd Batcycle you've destroyed this month." Bruce replied without even looking at him. "What's the big deal? It's not like you're short on motorcycles anyway." Don't look at me like that, and I didn't damage anyone else's vehicle or public property. I had no choice but to do it to save someone. Dick shrugged off the accusation. At first, Dick didn't seem to care, but after Bruce turned to look at him expressionlessly, he quickly changed his voice and explained how he had damaged the Batcycles. He finished his explanation, and Bruce listened without comment. There was no blame, no praise, not even a comment. Bruce simply turned back to continue working on the Bat computer. It's still the same as always. I can never figure out what Bruce is thinking. Every time I think he's going to praise me, he ends up criticizing me, and every time I think I've messed up, he'll smile and say, "Good job." Dick thought to himself with a hint of helplessness. But he was mostly immune to Bruce's couldn't-care-less attitude. With a relaxed smile on his face, Dick walked over to Bruce's side and playfully said, "I heard something on my way back about the Gotham City Stadium. They said that the Phantom Thief stole the entire bat signal right in front of all of you. I thought for sure you were going to chase after him and teach him a lesson." Bruce didn't say anything and kept working as if he couldn't hear anything Dick said. "Well, okay, I won't bother you. I'll go find Alfred and get something to eat. I'm starving tonight." Dick said it with a bored expression on his face. He shook his head and muttered to himself as he turned to walk upstairs. "There are a few grilled meat rolls in the dining room. Alfred kept them specially for you." Bruce's voice suddenly came from behind Dick. When Dick turned around, Bruce hadn't moved at all, as if he wasn't the one to talk just now. "Got it, I'll go eat them," Dick replied with a slight smirk and turned to continue walking. The next day, news about the rehearsal of the Phantom Thief last night swept through Gotham City like a storm. Newspapers, TV news, online media, and social media, every single one of them made Phantom Thief the headline for today. In fact, there had been rumors circulating since last night, but today they turned into an explosion of information. There were rumors about the Phantom Thief's instant teleportation, his miracle of making the Batlight disappear and reappear, and his magnificent exit. These stories went viral on all major platforms overnight. One reporter or paparazzo even uploaded a video of Phantom Thief on YouTube, and it got more than 2 million views in a short time. Meanwhile, in the Diamond District, at the Iceberg Lounge, Penguin read the news for today with a smirk on his face. "Phantom Thief Kid is in trouble," Penguin said. "Boss, what do you mean?" Penguin's personal secretary, Ignatius, asked in confusion. Since Ignatius's failed plan with the Stone of Misfortune, Penguin has been disappointed with him. Penguin was afraid that Phantom Thief would use the Stone of Misfortune to get revenge on him, so he had to go to Calculator to buy a talisman that could protect him from bad luck. It's worth mentioning that the talisman, just like the Stone of Misfortune, was bought from Felix Faust. Its effect was just enough to resist the curse of the Stone of Misfortune, and it cost over $3 million. As for whether there were any unknown commercial secrets behind it, Penguin said he didn't want to discuss it further. Luckily, these past few days had been calm, and Phantom Thief hadn't come to find him. The Penguin didn't want to keep fighting with the Phantom Thief either because it was dangerous. But Penguin couldn't help but smile when he saw Bruce Wayne declare war on Phantom Thief and heard that Phantom Thief had stolen the bat signal last night. Facing Ignatius' puzzled question, Penguin simply said, "You don't understand what Bruce Wayne means to this city, and you don't understand what the bat signal means to all criminals." Penguin's lips curled into an obvious smirk. Phantom Thief dared to go against the bat signal. His good days are about to end because his actions have provoked the wrong person. Chapter 137, Chapter 137, The Life of Cassandra. Enjoy your life today. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow might never come. Takeshi Yamamoto, Katkyo Hitman Reborn. Meanwhile, at Gotham General Hospital, Barbara was in the hospital bed, and she was very serious as she watched the news about the Phantom Thief on the TV in the room. Cassandra is sitting next to her on a chair, watching with Barbara. You seem really interested in that person called Phantom Thief. Cassandra asks Barbara with a few sign gestures. Barbara was surprised for a moment and then curiously asked, "Why do you say that? When watching other TV programs, you've never been this serious." Cassandra gestured. "Well." Barbara pondered for a moment and then said, "I'm paying so much attention to the news about Phantom Thief because my father is the police commissioner, and Phantom Thief is a criminal he's trying to catch. So, I keep up with news about Phantom Thief in the hopes that he will be caught someday." She was lying. Cassandra thought to herself. She couldn't understand the real meaning behind Barbara's words, but Cassandra could tell from her body language that what Barbara had just said wasn't true. Cassandra didn't know why Barbara was lying to her, but she didn't intend to reveal it. Because she was also sure that Barbara only wanted the best for her and had no bad intentions. Since Barbara didn't want to talk about it, Cassandra would not ask. Also, Barbara hasn't told Cassandra her secret identity, but Cassandra has a pretty good guess. The reason was simple. She had once seen Batgirl patrolling at night, and at that moment, Batgirl was swinging from one building to another using a grappling gun. Even though it was only for a few seconds, Cassandra saw Barbara's shadow when Batgirl moved her body in a very quiet manner. Cassandra is pretty sure Barbara is Batgirl, but she can't be completely certain about her identity. She believed Barbara's interest in Phantom Thief may have something to do with her secret identity as Batgirl, and that's why she's lying about it. Barbara didn't want others to know she was the Batgirl. Cassandra came to this conclusion, but she wasn't sure why. Cassandra's life was very monotonous because it was always the same. She could just stand on the roof and watch the sun come up and go down without doing anything else. She doesn't have a cell phone and never uses the internet. A few months ago, she couldn't even read a single word. She had no idea how to read books or newspapers. Barbara taught Cassandra to read slowly and carefully. Without her, she wouldn't have been able to understand the news, even though she still didn't understand much of what she read. So, Cassandra doesn't know much about the Phantom Thief, Batman, Robin, Batgirl, or any other heroes or villains other than the fact that they exist. From the day she was born, Cassandra hadn't talked to more than one hand's worth of people, including Barbara and Dean. She had gotten this far by using only her martial arts skills. Because of this, Cassandra now has a distinctive personality and viewpoint that are uncommon among people. Cassandra doesn't understand many of the unspoken rules and norms that most people take for granted. For example, why would Batman or Batgirl cover their faces and not let others know who they were, even though they were doing good deeds? If Barbara herself cared so much about the Phantom Thief, why did she pretend to do so in her father's name? Cassandra couldn't figure it out. Even though she doesn't understand a lot of things, she doesn't go asking for answers unless she really wants to know. Do you really hate Phantom Thief? Cassandra looked at Barbara with her pure eyes and gestured with her hands. If I'm being honest, I don't really hate Phantom Thief. I know he is not bad and that he is funny. I even like that about him sometimes. Barbara did not expect to shake her head, which showed that she doesn't hate the Phantom Thief. Cassandra could tell Barbara was speaking the truth, which confused her even more. Even Cassandra, who doesn't pay much attention to the news, knows that heroes and villains are supposed to be enemies. As Batgirl, Barbara and the Phantom Thief should be enemies. But Barbara said she didn't hate him, which left Cassandra puzzled even more. What the Phantom Thief did was wrong. Even though he doesn't hurt people as much as other criminals and doesn't cause panic, it's still wrong for him to steal other people's things without their permission for his so-called magic shows. More importantly, this kind of bad behavior doesn't lead to good results. Barbara saw Cassandra's confusion and decided to explain. Barbara continued, Phantom Thief did something wrong. It's not a big mistake, but even small mistakes have consequences. That's why my father, Robin, Batgirl, and many others are so determined to catch him. But, Barbara added, I think they might not have sent Phantom Thief to prison if Robin or Batgirl had caught him instead of the GCPD. They would probably try to find a way to get him to change his path and convince him to change his ways. Hearing this, Cassandra's pupils slightly shrank. Even the smallest mistakes have consequences. But what if you make a big mistake? When Cassandra thought back to what had happened when she was 9, she felt a mix of feelings. She didn't show it but continued to ask Barbara about Phantom Thief. For some reason, she suddenly became curious about the Phantom Thief. What do you think Phantom Thief's real identity would be like? Cassandra gestured to Barbara and asked. I'm not sure, I guess he's probably a magician who loves what he does but isn't too interested in anything else. He seems to be very kind and sometimes a little bit playful, and he's very young, probably in his early 20s. Barbara speculated. That's just my guess of the Phantom Thief, as for what he really looks like, I don't know, and no one does. Cassandra nodded absent-mindedly. At this moment, she suddenly stood up, gestured at Barbara a few times, and walked towards the door. Wait, Cassandra, where are you going? Barbara was about to call Cassandra, but she had already left the room and closed the door. This is really hard to figure out. Barbara sighed helplessly and thought to herself, I've known Cassandra for almost half a year, but I still feel like I know nothing about her, just like the first time we met. Just now, the strange look in Cassandra's eyes didn't escape Barbara's eyes. Barbara didn't say anything about it. Chapter 138, Chapter 138, Rehearsal Simulation. If you focus on what you left behind, you will never be able to see what lies ahead. Gusto, Ratatouille. I hope that kid knows what she's doing. Barbara could only think this way. In some ways, Barbara may not know Cassandra as well as Dean did. Dean knew at least that Cassandra was a good martial artist, which Barbara had no idea about. The reason is simple. Barbara always sees Cassandra only in the library. She doesn't even know where Cassandra lives. Barbara had offered to help Cassandra find a place to live or at least take her to one of the Wayne Foundation's foster homes if necessary. However, Cassandra refused Barbara's proposal and did not let Barbara know where she lived every day. Cassandra and Barbara would go to the library every morning, where Barbara would teach her how to read. As the afternoon came to a close, Cassandra would leave the library on her own and never let anyone follow her. The only exceptions are the few times Barbara took Cassandra shopping, buying clothes, or having a big meal. When they went out together, Cassandra seemed uncomfortable and had a lot to learn about daily life. She doesn't know how to use a knife and fork to eat, doesn't know how to put on a skirt, has no interest in makeup, and even has a strange fear of lipstick, as if it were poison, and refuses to let her lips touch it. Cassandra is like an autistic person when it comes to talking with others. She avoids eye contact, hides from store clerks in clothing stores, and gives them the impression that she is a thief. As a result, these trips not only didn't bring Barbara and Cassandra closer together, but they also made Cassandra afraid to go shopping with Barbara for a while. After that, Barbara did not ask Cassandra to have contact with human society again. She started by teaching Cassandra to read. When she can understand commonly used English words, she will slowly try to integrate Cassandra into modern society. It was obviously safe to teach in the library and go outside during the day in parts of Gotham that were normally safe. Cassandra doesn't need to use her martial arts in front of Barbara. Barbara didn't have the ability to predict, so she couldn't know this. After all, who would expect this 14-year-old girl to be a hidden martial arts expert? Dean just happened to have good luck and walk with Cassandra at night, and they even took a shortcut through an alley. It was normal to encounter criminals and muggers. In short, Barbara was worried about Cassandra's ability to make a living, but as time passed, she saw that Cassandra didn't seem to be suffering from hunger, and her body was quite healthy. Barbara doesn't seem to have much to worry about other than the fact that she wears out her clothes quickly. Barbara also lets Cassandra do her own thing over time. After all, she wasn't in a position to tell Cassandra what to do. After Cassandra left, Barbara shifted her thoughts to the Phantom Thief. In a few days, the Phantom Thief is going to steal Bruce's ocean gem at the Gotham City Stadium. I wonder how Bruce will deal with him. Barbara thought with interest. Batman losing to the Phantom Thief is hard to imagine, but it might make things more interesting if he does. The look on Bruce's face would be priceless. She continued jokingly. Barbara wasn't hoping for trouble, she was just joking with Batman. Those who have never worked for Batman can't really understand how hard it is. Barbara and Dick might have quit a long time ago if it weren't for their strong beliefs and the importance of Batman to Gotham. Even though they never said it out loud, their frustration at Batman had built up over time, and every small problem added up to a large amount of dissatisfaction. Batman was a very controlling person, and his orders were always final. He didn't let anyone question them. This often left Barbara and Dick in awe, wishing to see Batman suffer and fail. They sometimes wished in silence that Batman would have some trouble. Other criminals were one thing, but Phantom Thief was a different story. He was a good-hearted criminal who could make Batman taste defeat. Batman losing to him wouldn't be a disaster, but it would be a loss. In this unique situation, both Dick and Barbara secretly hoped that Batman would fail. But if Batman completely beat the Phantom Thief, they'd both be happy too. After all, the Phantom Thief had already beaten them both, so it would be nice for Batman to take revenge for them. So, whether Batman or the Phantom Thief won, the show was sure to be exciting and give them a sense of victory. In this way, it seemed like a win-win situation. At the same time, in the Batcave, Dick also had a similar mood as he watched Bruce keep working on strange things. Having some trouble there? Dick asked with a smirk. What are you doing here, Dick? Bruce asked in a calm tone. Well, where else would I be? It's my day off from school, and it's still noon, and it's not yet for Robin's time to shine. Dick shrugged and replied. You could do your own work or go through the case files of past important cases. How long have you been involved in this case, and how many case files have you reviewed? Bruce questioned. Dick was left speechless. Your detective skills have a lot of room for improvement, Dick. That's why you're having trouble catching Phantom Thief, and he keeps outsmarting you. Bruce said it calmly. Bruce's hand, which had been working with different things, suddenly stopped. He turned to Dick and revealed a sandbox he had been working on, which looked like a simulated sandbox. What's this? Dick exclaimed in surprise the moment he saw the sandbox. This is a simple sandbox modeled on the central football field at the stadium. Bruce calmly explained. A small iron object stood in the middle of the smaller version of the football field's grass on the sandbox. That iron object was none other than a small bat signal. In addition, there was a layer of white, cloud-like paper hanging above the sandbox, with a small white figure standing next to the bat signal. This is where Phantom Thief has rehearsed his tricks. Chapter 139, Chapter 139, 3 Possibilities. Get busy living, or get busy dying. Andy Dufresne, The Shawshank Redemption. You're not telling me you've already figured out the Phantom Thief's methods? Just in one night? When Dick saw the sandbox Bruce had made, he realized something immediately and was shocked. I've thought of 3 different ways to get similar results, but only one has been useful as an example. Bruce replied. As I said before, you should find time to improve your detective skills instead of just being reckless. If you are smarter than the Phantom Thief, you won't always lose to him. Bruce added. Dick's mouth twitched as he listened, and he was briefly speechless. In fact, Dick's thinking ability was already very fast, especially for a young genius like him. Even though the Phantom Thief was often one step ahead of him, Dick could always figure out the Phantom Thief's real plan in the end, except for a few special parts. So, how did the Phantom Thief make the bat signal disappear that day? Are you planning to simulate the whole process with this? Dick held his chin and asked. He was actually very interested in the Phantom Thief's methods and had done many secret simulations to try them out. There were a few times when he was close to success, but it wasn't easy to achieve the perfect effect. And also, why use this old-fashioned sandbox to simulate? Doesn't the Batcave have virtual projection technology? He added. Because this makes more sense. Bruce replied calmly. All right, you're the boss. You mentioned earlier that you came up with 3 different ways for the Phantom Thief to make the bat signal disappear. What are those 3 ways? Dick continued to ask. Bruce took out a small white cloth model and held it between his thumb and forefinger. Obviously, that was the white cloth the Phantom Thief used to cover the bat signal, an important part of the Phantom Thief's trick. The first way is to assume that Phantom Thief has access to some form of spatial technology, such as the boom tube or future technology from the 30th century or 64th century. The medium for this spatial technology could be some hidden object, or it could be this piece of cloth. Bruce said it with a serious expression. Dick blinked as he thought about this. Bruce's words were not mistakes or wild guesses, they were based on facts. For example, the Flash from Central City often goes on vacation in the 30th century and occasionally brings back some souvenirs. Even the Flash's archenemy, Reverse Flash, was from the future and traveled in the 25th century. In addition, it is said that Superman has been to the 31st century and even joined some kind of legion of superheroes. Dick wasn't clear on the details, but it was indeed real. Even Dick himself has met someone from the 64th century, a future magician named Abracadabra, who is a supervillain that the Teen Titans Kid Flash has fought against. He may be called a magician, but he actually uses technology from the future that is more incredible than magic, so don't underestimate his power. Since this is the case, it seems likely that Phantom Thief also has some kind of spatial technology. However, Dick, who believes he knows a lot about Phantom Thief, doesn't think this is possible. The second possibility is that the Phantom Thief appears to be a magician on stage but actually possesses real magic, and the white cloth is his magical prop. Bruce continued. He paused for a moment and glanced at Dick. I know what you're thinking, Dick. The chances of these 2 possibilities being true are very small, but definitely not 0. The Zadara family has been doing magic shows for hundreds of years, mostly to hide the fact that they are learning real magic. No one knows for sure if Phantom Thief is also doing the same thing. Remember Abracadabra? He came from the 64th century and started by disguising himself as a regular magician, and no one could tell he was using future technology. Can you be sure that Phantom Thief is not doing the same? Bruce's calm question left Dick deep in thought. In fact, he couldn't be sure that the Phantom Thief was using standard magic. It was easy to make magic or future technology look like standard magic, and Dick couldn't tell the difference. Because of the limitations of the time, there was a good chance that not only Dick but also Bruce would be tricked. The issue of magic was not that complicated, as Bruce could always consult Zatanna. What worried him more was advanced technology from countless centuries in the future. There was no way to detect it with current technology. The first 2 possibilities are less likely, so I think the third possibility makes more sense. At this point, Bruce changed his focus and began explaining the last possibility he had considered. Chapter 140, Chapter 140, Reveal of the Trick. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Shoyo Hinata, Haikyuu. If we consider the Phantom Thief's past performances, it's more likely that he doesn't have future technology or real magic. So, let's start with the idea that he is a very good ordinary magician. Bruce began to speculate. The fundamental principle of magic is that the bat signal couldn't just disappear out of thin air, it must have moved from one place to another, giving the illusion that it had disappeared. So, the important question is, what was the purpose of the Phantom Thief covering the bat signal with the white cloth? Bruce asked himself as he slowly placed the white cloth model he had been holding onto the small bat signal on the sandbox's grassy field. In this scenario, the white cloth completely covered the bat signal, preventing any of us from seeing it. We can't see what's happening to the bat signal. The only thing we know for sure is that the bat signal is still on the ground because the white cloth covering it shows its shape. Bruce explained. Most importantly, Phantom Thief didn't touch the bat signal or the white cloth during this process. If he could do something with just his ideas, it's clear that it's not possible with normal magic. Bruce pointed to the white figurine model of the Phantom Thief, which didn't touch the bat signal or the white cloth directly. Dick nodded to show that he agreed with Bruce's analysis. No matter how amazing a magic trick may seem on the surface, it can't really go beyond what humans can do. If a magician performs magic without doing anything, it means that there must be a trick involved. Bruce kept talking in a logical way. The magician's trick doesn't have to involve actors, it could also involve the magician guiding someone's choices in their favor without the person knowing it. Now, there was only Phantom Thief near the bat signal, so no one else could have been his accomplice. The bat signal could only have stayed in its original spot. Bruce concluded. As if to prove his point, Bruce took the white cloth model off from the bat signal model, which showed that the bat signal was still underneath. Now, we've reached the most important step. The Phantom Thief started to move. He only did one thing, which was to pull the white cloth off of the bat signal. At the same time, the bat signal just disappeared. Everyone can see that this move hides important information. Bruce said this to set up the next part of his answer, which left Dick looking very surprised. He then manipulated the white figurine to grab the white cloth and forcefully pull it away from the bat signal model. In the moment the white cloth separated from the bat signal vanished. What? What just happened? What did you do? Dick was sure he hadn't blinked for a moment. He had seen the bat signal model inside just a second ago. How could it suddenly disappear? Bruce, did you do something just now? Dick remembered when Bruce had moved the white cloth away from the bat signal model and asked with suspicion. Bruce calmly shook his head and said, "This is why I want you to improve your skills, Dick. Think carefully about it. What would you do if you wanted to hide something from others but couldn't physically remove it? Well, I would use specially designed glass or mirrors to hide the object, making it appear as if it had disappeared." Wait a minute. Dick responded without hesitation. As he spoke, he suddenly paused and asked, "Are you saying that Phantom Thief hid a designed glass inside the white cloth and put it so that others couldn't see the bat signal?" "That's impossible." Dick immediately rejected the idea. "I considered that possibility before because Phantom Thief used to play tricks like that, but this time it's different." Phantom Thief touched the white cloth more than once. The first time, he pulled it off the bat signal, and then the bat signal disappeared. But right after, he put the white cloth back. If the bat signal had stayed in the same place, the white cloth would still be on it. It wouldn't just spread out on the floor. No matter how amazing a magic trick was, it couldn't break the rules of physics. If the white cloth was spread out on the ground, it proved there was no bat signal underneath it. The white cloth can't become invisible and pass through the bat signal, right? Bruce gazed at Dick and didn't say anything. He just put the white cloth model back where it was on top of the bat signal model. Ah! Dick was astonished to find that the white cloth model had indeed spread out. Did that mean the bat signal model had disappeared? No, Bruce's attitude clearly showed that the bat signal model was still in its original place. Dick furrowed his brows deeply. "Cameras," Bruce suddenly said. "Cameras." Dick was dumbfounded by the quick change in subject. What does this have to do with what they were talking about before? Phantom Thief destroyed 7 surveillance cameras. Why? What important move of his might have been captured on camera that he wanted to hide? Bruce seemed to be guiding Dick's thoughts step by step. In Scenario 1, Phantom Thief moves too quickly to see with the naked eye, but a high-speed camera can still catch it. In Scenario 2, the bat signal hasn't moved from its original position, which goes against the white cloth that was laid on the ground. In Scenario 3, Phantom Thief has never touched the bat signal, but he has touched the white cloth many times. Dick mentally arranged all the known information. What did Phantom Thief Kid actually do if these scenarios were true? Why did he destroy the cameras? Dick felt he was close to figuring something out, but he still didn't fully understand. Think carefully about the angles of those 7 cameras. What could they capture of the Phantom Thief's actions? Bruce suddenly asked. As soon as he finished speaking, a flash of inspiration struck Dick. The angles of the 7 cameras would perfectly capture the Phantom Thief picking up the white cloth. When Phantom Thief first pulled the white cloth away and made the bat signal disappear, there was no footage of him putting his hand on the white cloth. When Phantom Thief spread the white cloth flat on the bat signal's location for the second time, there was no footage of him throwing the white cloth. So, considering all this information, how could he have spread the cloth flat on the grass while keeping the bat signal in its original place? The answer became obvious. Meanwhile, at the Iceberg Casino. In 2 days, Phantom Thief is going to take on Bruce Wayne's challenge at Gotham City Stadium and try to steal the bat signal and the precious gem inside it. The casino manager announced this loudly to all the gamblers in the room. For this, our boss has decided to open a betting pool. You can bet on Phantom Thief winning or losing. There is only one rule at the Iceberg Casino: you play, you pay. The casino manager grinned mysteriously and continued, according to our inside information, Batman might also be getting involved in this. So place your bets. Chapter 141, Chapter 141, Gamble. Just because someone stumbles and loses their path, doesn't mean they're lost forever. Professor X, X-Men, Days of Future Past. What? Bruce Wayne's challenge with the Phantom Thief will also involve Batman. After hearing the last words of the casino broker, almost everyone showed a surprised expression. Although we knew Phantom Thief was committing a high-profile crime, it was only a matter of time before he caught Batman's attention. But I just didn't expect Batman to go after that thief so quickly. Tisk, tisk, back when I heard that even Robin and Batgirl couldn't deal with Phantom Thief, I thought he was talented. If he had taken on business like Catwoman, I might even consider working with him. But now that annoying Batman is after the Phantom Thief, this kid might have trouble even in the future. What's there to worry about? If you really want to recruit Phantom Thief, you can just take him to see Professor PYG. He can fix any broken limbs, but he won't look as good after being fixed. What? Go to Professor PYG for treatment? You must be kidding. After he treats someone, they can't be recognized as humans anymore, and the fees are ridiculously expensive. I'd rather find Calculator to find me a new member than spend that much money on Phantom Thief. This was the underground VIP area of the Iceberg Casino, where only exceptional people came to enjoy themselves. Most of them were supervillains or gang leaders, and many of them had fought Batman before. This is normal because there aren't many criminals in Gotham who have trouble with Batman. Gotham has always had a high crime rate, but the number of violent crimes like murder and killing is not that high. The total number of people killed by murder in Gotham each year is lower than that in cities like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. However, this didn't mean Gotham was a better city than those with higher murder rates. Murder was just one of many different kinds of crime. A lot of Gotham's underground organizations thought that killing people, helping people kill each other, or doing mass murders was stupid and bad for business. If they really didn't like someone, making them disappear was a much better option. Why bother killing them? They'd be missing without a trace, and who could prove it was a murder case? The Penguin was a good example of this way of doing things. He never wasted a bullet on someone he could dispose of without killing them. Of course, if they pushed him too far, even after he gave them money and nice words, there was no place for them in this city. This has also led to a surprisingly high rate of disappearances in Gotham. How high, exactly? It's unclear, as the Gotham City government has never allowed such data to be made public. What made Gotham truly terrifying was that it was the center for all kinds of illegal businesses. Drugs can't be compared to Mexico, gambling can't be compared to Las Vegas, and chaos can't be compared to the most devastated by war area in the world. If we look at a single type of crime, there are always places that are worse than Gotham. The real scary thing about it is that this city is the center of all kinds of illegal businesses. In addition to drugs, gambling, and prostitution, Gotham also has murders, arms smuggling, fraud, theft, robbery, kidnappings, bombings, arson, and terrorist attacks. Almost every kind of crime in Gotham City can be traced back to the top-level team of experts, who operate together and work together on the surface. This is truly unique in the world. Not to mention that Gotham City is also home to its own pride, the largest and highest quality group of mentally insane criminals on Earth. Just like now, there were hundreds of gamblers, such as top professionals like assassins, traffickers, kidnappers, drug dealers, arms dealers, cult leaders, and more, came together at the Iceberg Casino for a unique event. They might be considered part of the Penguins gang as they come over to gamble and support the Penguins business. Since Batman existed, these people have lost a lot of money in their illegal businesses because of Batman's persistent efforts. They lost a lot of money as a result. Anyone can imagine how much they hated Batman. But there was a saying that the people who know you best are often your enemies. The more Batman beat them up, the more they realized what kind of monster he was. Bruce Wayne challenges the Phantom Thief. If Batman were to get involved, it would definitely be to help Bruce catch the Phantom Thief. But can Batman be compared to the Phantom Thief? Of course not. How could the Phantom Thief win against Batman? There's no need to talk about direct combat power since the Phantom Thief is so small that he wouldn't stand a chance against even one punch from Batman. In terms of technology, intelligence, money, and allies, Batman had it all. The Phantom Thief only had some magic tricks for deception. Wayne Enterprises was known to be the major financial supporter of Batman. Bruce had already said publicly that he wanted to help street-level heroes all over the world before the Justice League was formed. Batman was definitely one of them, and since he lived in Gotham, he might even get more money than other heroes. As for whether anyone had ever thought Bruce Wayne was Batman, the answer is yes. But in Gotham, if anyone said something like this, most people would laugh at them until they stopped. Can a playboy like Bruce really handle the job of Batman? The people of Gotham have seen Bruce grow up, so what skills did he have that they didn't know about? The scenario of Bruce Wayne and Batman being in two places at the same time is impossible. It's impossible for Batman to have clones, right? Also, Gotham City's supervillains are more interested in bigger targets than Bruce Wayne. The Wayne Enterprises and Gotham's Kingpin. If it wasn't for Batman ruining their plans, the Wayne Tower would have been destroyed ages ago. Just less than a year ago, even a third-rate villain like Killer Moth managed to kidnap Bruce Wayne. If he was really Batman, wouldn't everyone have realized it? Killer Moth's fighting skills aren't that impressive, right? Do you believe that? I bet even Killer Moth himself doesn't believe it. It's ridiculous to say that Batman is Bruce Wayne. It states that it'd be the second funniest joke in Gotham City. In short, anyone at the gambling table with a functioning brain decided to bet against Phantom Thief's success. It seems like nobody has much faith in the Phantom Thief. The odds for betting on his failure remain at 1:1, while the odds for betting on his success have reached an astonishing 1:230. No one is betting that the Phantom Thief will win. This game could be hard for us. Once everyone had placed their bets, the casino dealer spoke in frustration. Just then, a bold and arrogant voice rang out from the crowd. Hard? I say, let's not make it hard at all. Chapter 142, Chapter 142, Matches Malone. I'd rather die tomorrow than live 100 years without knowing you. John Smith, Pocahontas. Who is this person? How dare he speak so arrogantly on Penguin's territory? All the gamblers turned their heads toward the direction of the voice. A middle-aged man with glasses, a mustache, and a multicolored suit stood there. He arrogantly adjusted his collar and stood there with his head proudly in front of everyone. As soon as people saw his appearance, they started to show signs that they knew him. Just look at how you're all betting on the same side. Is this even a gamble? Matches Malone looked around at the crowd with disdain. What if Phantom Thief wins? Then all of you will lose everything, and the dealer will take all the money. Who said that Batman would definitely show up? Did he send you all a notice? Did you receive it? I certainly didn't. When he said this, everyone stopped talking for a moment. The casino manager's face looked terrible for a moment. Luckily, he quickly got back to being professional, and he put on a smile. It seemed that this was actually the case. The only mention of Batman possibly showing up was from the inside information of the casino manager. Who leaked this information and where it came from remained unknown. Indeed, it was only a matter of time before Batman targeted the Phantom Thief, but nobody could be sure it would be today. Matches Malone was a famous criminal in Gotham and was active for many years. He was popular, but his influence wasn't as strong as Penguin's. He was even older than the Penguin in terms of age. But his power was very weak. He started as an arsonist and worked with his brother. Originally, he wasn't that skilled, but after an accident in which his brother died, he disappeared for 2 years. But Matches seemed to have a sudden success during those 2 years. His skills and power grew by a huge amount. He went from being a simple arsonist to being an excellent crime boss. After returning to Gotham in less than 2 months, Matches formed a team and became famous in the arson industry, which attracted much attention. In a short amount of time, his power had grown quickly. While Matches' gang wasn't as big as the Penguins or Two-Faces, he was still a top-tier figure in Gotham. Matches had a rule for his henchmen that they were never to start a fire in a building when there were people inside the building. He does this because his brother's death makes him realize it's not worth it. Matches was lucky in that the arson business didn't have many strong competitors. The older generation of villains wasn't particularly interested in arson, unlike typical criminal organizations, which always had the Penguin as a strong leader. Firefly and other newbies had a lot of potential, but they often worked alone, had serious mental health problems, and couldn't lead a gang. Therefore, Matches has become the natural leader of Gotham's arson team. He has good relations with others and is usually willing to cooperate. The only bad side of this guy is that he is very straightforward and weird. Matches probably would have been killed a long time ago if it weren't for his incredible arson skills and the fact that he doesn't have any main interest conflicts. What's even more important is, do you think it's hard to manipulate Batman's actions? Matches surprises everyone by saying this. When the day comes for the Phantom Thief to steal the gem, all I need to do is have someone set a big fire at GCPD or City Hall. Batman will immediately drop everything and rush over to save people. Do you believe that? Of course they do. After fighting Batman for so many years, they know precisely when he loses his patience and hits back with all his strength. At that time, if someone killed a few city councilors or took the mayor hostage and put him in a department store with several timed bombs, it would easily catch Batman's attention. For them, these things are as simple as eating and drinking. If Penguin wanted to do something like this, it was no different from blinking an eye. Thinking about how cheap a bomb is, it's a huge profit to exchange it for the millions of dollars they're betting. Batman goes somewhere else when the Phantom Thief comes out. How can they win against the Phantom Thief with just Bruce Wayne and the GCPD? The crowd of gamblers immediately realized the massive trap hidden behind this gambling event. It doesn't matter if Batman catches the Phantom Thief or if he can even catch him. These things can be easily manipulated. The rules of the casino state that if there are bets on both sides of a wager where you guess the result, the casino will take 15% of the total bet, even if only one person plays on the other side. But if only one side bets and no one bets on the other side, and their bet loses, all of the money they bet goes to the Iceberg Casino. Penguin usually doesn't allow this situation to happen because it would ruin the reputation of the casino. If this really happened, Penguin would secretly send someone to place a bet on the other side. It's not clear what the casino manager was thinking when he told everyone about Batman's insider information and also intentionally manipulated the bets in favor of the Phantom Thief. What's even worse is that he said the bet was set up according to the boss's wishes. There's no need to mention who the owner of the Iceberg Casino is. I came to the Iceberg Casino because I believed in fairness. Not to manipulate any gambling event, but today, I'm disappointed. After Match's announcement, everyone there saw that the gambling was a secret scam, and they started to get angry and complain. At this moment, a person suddenly appears in the Iceberg Casino and is surrounded by a group of people. In an instant, the entire place fell silent, and no one dared to speak again. Because this person was none other than the owner of this place, Oswald Cobblepot, known as Penguin in Gotham. I heard someone is causing trouble in my casino. Penguin scanned the room with his gaze. Cobblepot, don't think that you can deceive us just because you are powerful. You owe us an answer for what happened today with this gambling event. Matches stepped forward fearlessly. Malone? My answer to you is that I have never heard of any insider information about Batman pursuing the Phantom Thief. It looks like I have some very useful sources. The Penguin glanced at the casino manager and calmly replied. The Iceberg Casino never manipulates gambling events. It has been an absolute rule since this casino opened. Anyone who dares to break this rule will die. Chapter 143, Chapter 143, Bet with Penguin. Life is a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved. Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Do you have any problems with this answer, Matches? Penguin looked at Matches expressionlessly. Even though the Penguin was a lot shorter than Matches, it seemed as if he was looking down on him. I certainly don't have any problems, Mr. Cobblepot. The Iceberg Casino has been open for over a decade without any scandals. I trust that Mr. Cobblepot will treat every guest who comes here to play with fairness and integrity. When Matches saw the Penguin, his mood changed quickly from being arrogant to being less aggressive. Coward. This Malone is still the same as it was before, bullying the weak and being afraid of the strong. He has no strength at all. When the other gamblers around Matches saw him like this, they cursed and said that Mr. Cobblepot was fair and that they would never question the Iceberg Casino's reputation. Then Penguin turned to one of his henchmen beside him and spoke. Ignatius, it's time to get a new manager for the Iceberg Casino. As soon as Penguin finished speaking, the casino manager standing nearby instantly turned pale. He had been working for the Penguin for so long that he could easily figure out the meaning behind his boss's words. From the moment the Penguin spoke, he knew he wouldn't survive the night. But he didn't understand what he had done wrong. The Penguin was the one who told him that Batman would go after the Phantom Thief. It wasn't insider information. The casino manager thought that the rules of the Iceberg Casino stated that any information that could affect the result of a bet should be made public, so he had to mention it. After all, anyone with a little common sense could figure out that if the Phantom Thief was trying to steal the bat signal, Batman wouldn't just stand there and do nothing. This was not some hidden secret in the first place. The casino manager chose to reveal this information to the public because he believed it would show how fair and trustworthy the Iceberg Casino was. He never thought of manipulating the gamble. Yes, Matches was right. It wasn't hard to control Batman's moves, as long as someone dared to do it. But that didn't mean the Iceberg Casino would do such a thing. Whoever wins or loses the confrontation between Bruce Wayne and the Phantom Thief, Batman is the final factor. By distracting Batman at a crucial moment, it would be possible to change the result of the fight. But the Iceberg Casino was known for its fairness and had been trying to avoid conflicts with Batman as much as possible. How could they do something on purpose to make him angry? The trap Matches pointed out earlier in the gamble was not actually a trap at all. Winning the bet would be impressive, but it could damage the Iceberg Casino's reputation built over the years. Penguin would never forgive the person who did this, but the casino manager would never be so stupid as to do something like this. But after Matches said a few words, all the gamblers thought the casino was trying to cheat them, and chaos broke out. Even Penguin himself was alerted and personally came to the scene. The casino manager at first thought the boss was coming to support him, but when the Penguin found out what was going on, he wanted to kill him. Did his boss also believe he was trying to manipulate the gambling event? The casino manager couldn't believe it. After all, the gambling event was the boss's idea, and how could he not know the reasons behind it? Or perhaps he was simply being made the scapegoat for his boss. The casino manager couldn't figure out what was going on. Maybe it would have been better if he hadn't said anything at all. He just hoped that his boss would only deal with him and not kill his family. At that moment, Ignatius walked up to the manager, sighed, and apologized. "Claude, I'm sorry. The boss instructed me to do this, so I had no other choice. When you die, I'll take care of your family. Don't fight back or say anything, or else I can't promise your family will be safe." Claude didn't say anything and just looked at Ignatius, who was the Penguin's closest secretary, and nodded very slightly. Ignatius was the one who told him the boss wanted him to set up the gambling event for the Phantom Thieves Challenge and that the boss would reward him if everything went well. As a result, he wasn't just missing out on commendation, he was now facing the possibility of losing his life. He wasn't just missing out on praise, he was now in danger of losing his life. Clang! The boss doesn't like bloodstains in the Iceberg Casino because cleaning the floors is a hassle. So, come with me. Ignatius took out a glinting knife from his sleeve and played with it in his hand. As Ignatius led him away, Claude's face turned pale and lifeless, like a dead body. As for their destination, no one wanted to know. "It was all my fault that there was trouble at the Iceberg Casino today for picking the wrong manager. So, I've chosen to give $5 million worth of chips to divide as compensation. It's up to you whether you want to keep playing with the chips or exchange them for cash." When the Penguin spoke again, he told everyone in the room something that made them all happy. Even if they split the 5 million chips among themselves, they would still have tens of thousands in their hands. It might not sound like much, but free money is nothing to scoff at, and nobody dared to say no. Just listen to what the Penguin has to say, and don't say anything. However, one person clearly didn't think so. "So, Mr. Cobblepot, may I ask if the gambling event involving Phantom Thief will still proceed?" Matches suddenly asked. Well, it seemed like he wasn't finished yet, was he? Matches's question startled the other gamblers. Even the Penguin had to do something. "What more do you want?" "The temporary worker was killed, and the compensation money was paid." "What do you want, Matches?" As expected, when he heard Matches' question, the Penguin's eyes immediately sharpened, and he got a dangerous gaze. "It's nothing important, why so tense?" Matches showed no signs of fear and had a relaxed smile. "I just think Phantom Thief's gambling event is quite interesting. I'd like to have a fair bet with Mr. Cobblepot here. That's all. If Mr. Cobblepot doesn't want to bet, then forget it." "Oh? What kind of bet do you have in mind?" Penguin asked thoughtfully. "We'll bet on whether the Phantom Thief can successfully steal the gem and escape." "How can we be fair?" "It's simple. Whether or not Batman pursues the Phantom Thief, we should avoid causing trouble that day. Make sure you can handle your henchmen, or you'll be my enemy." "How much are we betting?" Matches slowly raised 3 fingers. $30 million. "All right, I accept this bet." Penguin replied calmly. "Then, Mr. Cobblepot, please place your bet first." Matches smiled faintly. "Humph, I bet Batman will definitely go after Phantom Thief, and Phantom Thief won't be able to escape." Penguin sneered. "In that case, I can only bet that Phantom Thief will definitely escape." Matches spoke with determination. Chapter 144, Chapter 144, Winnable. Whatever you do in this life, it's not legendary unless your friends are there to see it. Barney Stinson, Hi Mim. This Matches must be a complete idiot. As they watched Matches and Penguin gamble, all the other gamblers in the room gave Matches sympathetic looks. With the Penguin's gang and the Matches gang working together, it wasn't hard to temporarily calm down all of Gotham's underworld for a day. There was no hope if it lasted too long, but if it lasted just one day, it was possible. After all, if anyone dared to make a big scene on that day, they would face an attack from both the Penguin's gang and the Matches gang. Even though the Matches gang wasn't as powerful as the Penguin gang, there was still a big difference between the two. But in Gotham City, Matches gang was considered a medium-sized crime organization, and with the Penguin's gang by their side, they could walk around Gotham without being stopped. No one in their right mind would offend both of these forces at the same time. This also meant that on the day the Phantom Thief acted, Batman would definitely go to Gotham City Stadium to stop the Phantom Thief. With the major gangs in Gotham controlling their henchmen, the night's crime rate would be much lower. This would let Batman focus on the Phantom Thief without worrying about other important things. So, this gamble returns to its original situation, Phantom Thief vs. Batman. Can the Phantom Thief get away from Batman? There's no need to think twice about it. As long as someone knows something about Batman, they won't have any doubts that there is anything in the world that he cannot do. Except for having a baby. Wait, Batman has never taken off his mask. The Phantom Thief tells the people of Gotham that voices can be changed and that no one can be sure that Batman is a man, even though his voice has always been male. What? They say the physique doesn't match? Who said a woman couldn't reach 6 feet? Who said a woman couldn't develop a muscular physique? That's just the surface. Just look at Batman's chest. Can a normal man have such big chest muscles? On the surface, it's chest muscles, but maybe it's actually boobies. In short, gamblers believed that there was no one Batman could deal with, especially not someone as bold as the Phantom Thief. What is the Phantom Thief capable of? There's plenty of complete video footage, so surely Batman can come up with a way to deal with him, right? There is no doubt that it is impossible to bet on whether the Phantom Thief can escape smoothly. Penguin made the right choice by betting that Batman would catch the Phantom Thief. Then, Matches bet $30 million that the Phantom Thief would escape from Batman. That's just intentionally throwing money away. Who in their right mind would make a bet that is so sure to lose? At first, it seemed like Matches planned to bet that the Phantom Thief wouldn't be able to escape so that the Penguin would lose money. However, it turned out to be the opposite. Wait a minute. Is Matches actually trying to give money to Penguin? Is it bribery? Or is he planning to build some new business with the Penguin's gang? Suddenly, some clever gamblers began to ponder Matches' true intentions. Hiss. The more they thought about it, the more it seemed to be the case. Matches, who had built the Matches gang from scratch, was definitely not stupid. Also, the amount bet was $30 million, which is a lot of money. What benefit did Matches gain from losing to the Penguin? It could only be a gift to show goodwill to the Penguin. Otherwise, there's no way to explain why Matches would knowingly bet on the Phantom Thief's success against Batman. It's possible that Matches was too proud to give money to Penguin directly, so he set up this plan to send money to Penguin in a strange way. It's really surprising. Matches looks so bold, but he is actually very sneaky. It seemed that not only the gamblers but also the Penguin himself shared this idea. The dangerous gaze in his eyes had now completely disappeared, and he turned his gaze toward Matches with a curious expression. Matches, are you not worried about losing this bet? $3 million is not a small amount, even for someone like you. It wouldn't be easy to come up with that kind of money, right? Mr. Cobblepot, if you're worried that I won't have $30 million to put down as a bet, don't be. I'm willing to bet and accept the results. If Phantom Thief gets caught, I will definitely pay the $30 million without hesitation. Matches replied confidently. Then I wish you good luck. Penguin smiled faintly and then addressed all the gamblers present. Ladies and gentlemen, if I stay here any longer, it might ruin the mood for everyone. So I'll leave for now. Enjoy yourselves. After saying that, Penguin's bodyguards walked him out of the Iceberg Casino. Once he left, everyone in the casino let out a sigh of relief. The gamblers, dealers, and receptionists softened their stiff faces. Everyone, I've put all my money on that bet just now, and I can't afford to buy more chips to play. I won't disturb your fun any longer. At this moment, Matches also sighed and spoke. You can just go away, Matches. If it weren't for you insisting on talking about how easy it is to manipulate Batman, this wouldn't have happened at all. Mr. Cobblepot would not have known. Yeah, don't think we don't know what you're up to. I thought you were direct, but when it came to the crucial moment, you turned out to be a guy who is a coward. Ignoring the insults from the gamblers, Matches turned away and left. After leaving the Iceberg Casino, Matches' behavior instantly changed. He discreetly glanced around before entering a nearby alley. As soon as he stepped in, two figures followed closely behind him into the alley. However, when the two of them reached the entrance alley, they found it completely empty. What the hell? Where is Matches Malone? One of the trackers exclaimed in frustration. Thud. Suddenly, his partner collapsed to the ground. Mikey! What's happened to you? Thud. As he was surprised by his partner's collapse, he suddenly felt a heavy blow to the back of his head. His vision instantly went black, and he uncontrollably fell forward. As expected, someone was following me. Matches stood behind the two people on the ground and held a piece of wood in his hand. He discreetly observed his surroundings and those behind him to ensure nobody else was tailing him before quickly leaving the spot. As for the two unconscious trackers, they could wait for their boss to find them. After some time, Matches arrived at a secluded and quiet alley. There were no people or surveillance cameras around. After confirming it was safe, he finally breathed a sigh of relief and gently reached for the back of his neck. Then he pulled something out lightly. A highly realistic mask was revealed as he took off the Matches Malone disguise. It turns out he wasn't the real Matches Malone. And after removing the Matches Malone mask, a handsome face with a hint of youthful charm was revealed. It was none other than Dean Thurston, who hadn't been seen in a long time. Chapter 145, Chapter 145, Plot. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Clarence the Angel, It's a Wonderful Life. Dean disguised himself as Matches to enter the Iceberg Casino, where he made a high-stakes bet of $30 million with the Penguin. So, what's the story behind this? Well, it all started with the Stone of Misfortune incident last month. From Dean's perspective, the Stone of Misfortune was another plot by the Penguin against him. This time, the scheme was far more dangerous and secretive than the previous Dragon's Egg Ruby Necklace incident. If Dean hadn't suspected something was wrong and disguised himself as Batman to interrogate Henry, he would have fallen into the trap without even realizing it. Even though the system could make sure Dean didn't die suddenly from the curse of misfortune, the Penguin's plan to trick Dean into stealing the cursed gem instead of the real one was very cunning. If the system didn't have immunity against the curse, Dean would have been in serious trouble. This made Dean realize that his battle with the Penguin was getting worse and that it was impossible to fix. However, he couldn't figure out why the Penguin hated the Phantom Thief so much. It's not that Dean doesn't understand that stealing their wealth is like killing their parents, but the Penguin's obsession with killing the Phantom Thief didn't seem to fit with his understanding of the Penguin. After all, Batman had caused the Penguin much more financial loss than Phantom Thief, but the Penguin never kept trying repeatedly to kill Batman. He seemed to be able to tell the difference between the pros and cons. The Penguin had already forced the Chandler family to give up their treasured gem and hire Firefly, but he still hadn't eliminated Phantom Thief. In most cases, that should have been enough. However, he continued with the Stone of Misfortune plan rather than stopping. It's worth mentioning that in Gotham's underworld, it was rare to see such endless hatred, especially since the Penguin was known for turning enemies into allies. Honestly, Dean was expecting that Penguin would offer a lot of money to hire him, but things turned out to be very different. Now, he wasn't even hoping for a generous offer. He just wanted the Penguin to remove the large bounty on the Phantom Thief from the underworld. Dean wasn't the type to let things go, especially after Penguin kept going after him. The Penguin had schemed against him multiple times, and if he didn't retaliate, what kind of person would he be? Moreover, he had to prepare for his upcoming performance in front of Batman. If the Penguin were to interfere in the shadows, Dean couldn't afford to be distracted and on guard against him. So, while preparing the operation plan near Gotham City Stadium, Dean also kept an eye on what the Penguin was up to. Then he noticed that the Penguin's actions had been rather strange lately. The Penguin usually stayed at the Iceberg Lounge, but he started moving all the time and only came to the Iceberg Lounge sometimes as if he were trying to hide from someone. There wasn't much evidence, but Dean had a feeling that the Stone of Misfortune he was carrying had something to do with it. Penguin might have believed that Dean was unaffected by the Stone of Misfortune and been concerned that Dean would use it to exact revenge on him. Dean had planned to do just that at first, but then he found out that Penguin had bought the Stone of Misfortune and the container that stopped the curse. This meant that Penguin could easily get his hands on something that could shield him from the curse. So, Dean thought the Penguin would have quickly gotten something similar to protect himself if he thought his enemy might have the Stone of Misfortune and could use it against him. The curse of the Stone of Misfortune would also spread to anyone who touched it, and it would only stop when someone died. It could easily lead to disastrous consequences if not careful. Therefore, Dean abandoned the idea of using the Stone of Misfortune to get revenge against the Penguin. However, this didn't mean Dean would allow the Penguin to scheme against him without fighting back. Dean had been looking for ways to infiltrate industries controlled by the Penguin's empire long before Bruce challenged Phantom Thief at the press conference. He installed various surveillance cameras and listening devices in places such as the Iceberg Casino, Iceberg Lounge, and others. It didn't take long for Dean to receive some interesting information. That was the moment when Ignatius came to the Iceberg Casino and instructed the casino manager to organize a gambling event involving the Phantom Thief. He said it was Penguin's plan. Dean never expected to become the center of a secret bet. He immediately realized that there were many ways to manipulate this gambling event. So, Dean decided to make the Penguin bleed financially. He had anticipated everything that had happened in the casino, from Matches Malone suddenly showing up to betting with the Penguin. He wasn't that confident in escaping Batman's attention, but he had a secret weapon specifically prepared for Batman. If things came to a desperate situation, he was confident he could escape. Of course, the best result would be not needing to use that plan at all. The Penguin is a big player with a big empire, so $30 million may not be a lot for him, but Dean couldn't believe that he wouldn't feel bad about losing so much money for no reason. The only thing that might have gone beyond Dean's control was how the Penguin got rid of the casino manager. The death of the casino manager had some connection to Matches speaking up, but Dean didn't particularly feel guilty about it. It wasn't because he was heartless, but because he had investigated the background of the casino manager. The guy and his whole family were criminals. He worked for the Penguin and was involved in dirty work, while his wife was a prostitute who had served time in prison years ago for trafficking young girls and had only been released a few years ago. As for the casino manager's two sons, one was a collector for the mob, and the other was involved in drug dealing. This kind of family is not unusual in Gotham's East End. At least 9 out of 10 families were involved in a crime. Now, why did Dean decide to disguise himself as Matches Malone? It wasn't because he thought Matches had some mysterious identity. It was because Matches had a different trait compared to other Gotham criminals that he frequently went off the radar. Matches had a reckless personality, but he had a low-key profile. He didn't show up in public very often, took vacations all over the world, and moved around so much that even his own henchmen sometimes didn't know where he was. No one knew where Matches went for a few months, and no one knew when he would return. Dean thought about it and decided that this guy was the best disguise he could find. So, without hesitation, he got ready in a way that matched Match's usual clothes and added a mask, which was a perfect match. He could get Match's voice and basic information from old GCPD footage and archives from Match's imprisonment 10 years ago. Those archived in the GCPD evidence room weren't really secured, so Dean was able to take them without much trouble. With this setup, Dean made a bet with the Penguin that if Batman caught him, Match's money would be at stake, not Dean's. What did Dean have to lose? In addition, he got the Penguin's promise not to interfere with Phantom Thief's actions at Gotham City Stadium and to keep the rest of the troublemakers under control. This allowed Dean to focus only on facing Batman. It seemed like a win-win situation. Chapter 146, Chapter 146, Thurston 3 Principles. I know we said goodbye, but I didn't know. It was forever. Violet Evergarden, Violet Evergarden. After leaving the Iceberg Casino, Dean carefully checked multiple times to make sure no one was following him before heading straight home. Before entering his house, he went through another round of checks. Dean had to do this every time he left in his disguise and returned home, which was both a burden and exhausting. But there was no other choice. Dean chose this profession, so he had to be very cautious. He had to do it, no matter how hard or tiring it was. After all, every time he performed as the Phantom Thief on stage, the cheers and amazement from the audience were real. A genuine expression of frustration could also be seen on the faces of the GCPD policemen, who were powerless to stop him. Most importantly, the points he received after a successful operation were very real. Thinking about all this filled Dean's heart with motivation. His past experiences have taught him that hard work doesn't always lead to the expected rewards. But now that he was in this world, the system rewarded him for all of his efforts. Moreover, his efforts not only received a guaranteed return but also returned more than what he had invested. With this perspective, the troublesome work Dean usually did didn't seem as difficult as he had imagined. Back at home, Dean entered his underground secret room. I took a risk by using that trick in front of Batman. Given the worst-case scenario, he might know the secret of that trick and even connect it with other information. That's what Dean thought. But, how could I possibly perform the same magic trick in front of Batman? It would be too audacious to challenge the Thurston 3 principles in front of him. The so-called Thurston 3 principles referred to the fundamental principles laid down by a magician named Howard Thurston many years ago, which all magicians had followed for nearly a century. These principles were: 1. Never reveal the secret to a trick. 2. Practice to perfection. 3. Do not repeat tricks in front of the same audience. There were rumors in the Gotham magic community that Howard Thurston might have some blood ties to Dean's Thurston family. However, since it had been a long time since Dean's parents had died young and he had no other relatives, it was impossible to verify. Dean couldn't be sure if it was true or not. In short, according to Thurston's third principle, Dean had already performed a magic trick in front of Batman, so he couldn't perform the same trick on the same person. However, Dean announces that the last time was just a rehearsal, and this time he would steal the bat signal and the gem in the same way. He can't just embarrass himself, can he? But Dean is not worried because there are many magic tricks with similar effects but completely different methods. He only said that he would use the same method as before. The other methods that were not revealed are still his secrets. Everything is going according to Dean's plan. However, the magic trick that Dean plans to use in the actual showdown is quite unique. It has to have the same effect as the last time, but Batman can't easily figure it out. This is actually quite difficult. He would need to plan carefully, and he might even have to buy some of the items from the system. Time flew by, and soon it was the day of the Phantom Thief's crime. When the night fell, Phantom Thief would once again perform his miraculous magic trick of making the bat signal disappear. Today, the Phantom Thief's criminal activities have become a major source of entertainment for the people of Gotham. It's a wonderful magic show to watch, and there's no need to worry about personal safety. They can also see the angry expressions of the wealthy people whose items were stolen. Is there anything more perfect show in the world? Compared to the Phantom Thief, all the other magicians Gotham had seen before were amateurs. It's not because Phantom Thief has a better level of magic than them, but because the excitement of a large-scale crime is something that no magic show can match. Only the Phantom Thief dares to do this kind of thing in the whole world, and he was the only one who could pull it off. In today's society, which has already entered the internet age, how could Phantom Thief's fame be limited only to Gotham? Last month, a young magician in Florida tried to imitate the Phantom Thief by sending a notice to the police station and museum, saying he would steal something. However, he was arrested on the very same day. Apart from Florida, there were a few enthusiastic fans of the Phantom Thief or professional magicians trying to imitate his acts in other states. However, they all ended up behind bars. Surprisingly, there are no real criminals imitating the Phantom Thief in Gotham, where he himself often appears. The Phantom Thief imitators in Gotham usually stop at the cosplay stage, and it's unknown if it's because the real Phantom Thief is here. In any case, Gotham City Stadium was bustling like never before. This stadium, which can hold up to 30,000 people, was completely full. Usually, this kind of situation would only happen during the football league, but now it was because of a criminal. In the past, Phantom Thief's crimes couldn't make room for too many people to watch at once due to the location, so the maximum audience was only a few thousand. But today was different. Bruce Wayne is rich, so he rented the whole Gotham City Stadium for Phantom Thief's show. This increased Phantom Thief's audience several times. On the other side, Wayne Enterprises, the boardroom. More than 20 major shareholders of Wayne Enterprises gathered at a round table. Bruce Wayne, as chairman, sat in the main seat with a calm and relaxed expression. The rest of the board members all had serious and uncertain faces. So, gentlemen on the board, do you have any objections to my proposal? Bruce asked with a smile on his face. No one said a word. Humph, Bruce, you'll bankrupt the company sooner or later. After a long time, an older-looking shareholder stood up from his seat and snorted coldly. This proposal gives me hope of making a profit, so I have no objections. But if you continue to invest in projects that don't make enough money, I will oppose it no matter what. He continued. Bruce, you think you're doing good deeds by fighting for the interests of the poor, regardless of cost. Do you know that over the years, some of the company's biggest residential development projects haven't even made money? Don't forget, the company needs to make a profit to survive. Bruce paid little attention to the old shareholder's words. He simply smiled and replied, the company's profit situation in recent years has been good. It's true that our profits are not as high as when you were in charge, but our profit margins have been steadily increasing every quarter. You have never received a lower dividend every year. I don't understand what you are worried about. At this point, the smile on Bruce's face slowly disappeared, and he became serious. Chapter 147, Chapter 147, It's time. I hate perfection. To be perfect is to be unable to improve any further. Kuratsuka Mayuri, Bleach. Bruce's eyes briefly flashed a tired expression after the board members left, but it vanished in an instant. He sat in his chair and waited for a while. Soon, Lucius Fox pushed open the door to the conference room and walked in. I noticed that the board members didn't look happy when they left. Did you have another argument with them? Lucius asked naturally as if he had seen this happen many times before. Not exactly. This time the plan went smoother than usual, and I didn't have to put in too much effort to convince them. Bruce said it nonchalantly. Is it about the development plan in the northwest hills of Otisburg? I guess they agreed because they saw a huge business opportunity hidden in it. As the CEO of Wayne Enterprises and a supporter of Batman, Lucius knew about all of the projects Bruce wanted to do. Well, otherwise, why would those old bloodsuckers agree so easily to this project? Bruce chuckled dismissively. They think they can profit from it, but I won't let them succeed. I think they might do something behind the scenes. You can't monitor that area all the time, considering how many responsibilities you have. Lucius pointed it out. So, I've decided to entrust the entire development plan to you. Bruce said it straightforwardly. I knew it. Lucius sighed in resignation. I bet you never counted how many messes you've dumped on me to deal with. That's because I believe in your abilities, Lucius. I know you can handle all the work. Bruce replied with a faint smile. Just wait, I'll buy back all the shares they hold, and by then, we can relax and do a lot more things. To be honest, if there was a friend who could pay them a visit every night to have a good chat with them, maybe your goal would have been achieved a long time ago. Hearing this, Bruce furrowed his brow and said, Batman isn't a thief, Lucius. It's very easy to take equity through illegal means, but he won't do that, and he shouldn't. I know. It's just that sometimes I wonder, how long do you have to keep going like this to achieve your goals? Bruce's answer didn't surprise Lucius, and he sighed lightly and replied. I'll keep going until the day I can't keep going anymore. Bruce said it firmly. All right, enough of this talk. We have a friend waiting for us for our appointment tonight. Lucius, did you prepare everything I asked for yesterday? Bruce asked. Of course, you're welcome to check anytime. Lucius nodded. Then let's get going. Bruce said as he was ready to leave. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. At the Gotham City Stadium, several helicopters were hovering in the air, and their fast-spinning propellers made a huge noise that echoed through the sky. The three of them were police helicopters from the GCPD, while the rest were private choppers from Gotham's major media companies. Bruce had already set up a live broadcasting perimeter using a camera at the center of the stadium's lawn, which could broadcast the entire Phantom Thief stealing from all angles. In fact, there was no need for the media to come and broadcast it themselves. But this is a big event, and if it's not reported in real time on the front line, can they even call themselves journalists? Since Wayne Enterprises was responsible for the close-up live broadcast on the ground, they decided to take a different approach by capturing the entire process from a bird's-eye perspective. After all, the fog in the sky seemed to be an important part of the Phantom Thief's technique during the rehearsal, so it would be interesting to see what was happening from above. One of the most famous media choppers belonged to the Gotham Gazette, the city's largest newspaper. Vicky Vale, the best reporter in Gotham, and an old friend were there. Hello, everyone, I'm Vicky Vale, and I'm currently hovering above Gotham City's stadium. Inside the helicopter cabin, Vicky held a microphone and spoke to the camera. The city's residents are almost all in Gotham City Stadium, which shows how much they want to see the fight between Bruce Wayne and the Phantom Thief. From this, the Phantom Thief seems more than just a criminal in Gotham. He has become a strange cultural symbol with a big star effect. We must admit that the Phantom Thief is an extremely charming supervillain. He's not as insane as Two-Face, not as cunning as the Penguin, not as paranoid as the Riddler, not as ferocious as Killer Croc, and not as complicated as the Joker. He's even different from any other criminal in the world. For him, stealing is more like an artistic means to perform his magic tricks than just a criminal act. I'm not trying to help clear Phantom Thief of his crimes, he is definitely a criminal. But you have to admit, this whole thing is so cool. He is smart, polite, funny, and charming, and at the same time, he always looked like a gentleman. From his clothes to the way he acted, everything about him was romantic. Oh, and he's so handsome. I don't think anyone wouldn't like the Phantom Thief. Since the rehearsal 3 days ago, the Phantom Thief stole an object that is considered special to Batman, the bat signal. Some people think that this might become the spark for the first confrontation between Batman and the Phantom Thief. Now, with only an hour and a half left before the Phantom Thief's next performance, let's watch and see whether this battle will be another miracle performed by the Phantom Thief or his final performance. As time passed, it was getting closer to the time when the Phantom Thief would make his appearance. Inside Gotham City Stadium, everyone was on high alert because they didn't want to miss anything exciting. At that moment, Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon stood outside the cameras, watching the bat signal inside. Surrounding them was a group of well-equipped GCPD officers, all of them keeping a close eye on the bat signal. These guards were the team that Jim had personally trained over the years, the most trustworthy group in the GCPD. Jim had brought them here with the determination to arrest the Phantom Thief. This venue was advantageous for the GCPD. In previous encounters with Phantom Thief, there were a lot of civilians in the areas where the crimes happened, which made it hard for Jim to give the order to shoot. But now, all the civilians were in the stands, and there was not a single person on the football field, so they didn't have to worry about collateral damage. However, Jim had not changed his opinion of the Phantom Thief. He believed he was guilty but didn't deserve to die. He didn't want to kill the Phantom Thief if possible. That's why these officers had tranquilizer darts instead of real bullets. It's almost time. Bruce said this while looking at his watch and focusing. Chapter 148, Chapter 148, reappears. Happiness is the richest thing we will ever own. Donald Duck, DuckTales the movie. Yes, it's almost time. Jim was also focused, and he instructed the guards next to him what to do. Double-check your equipment to ensure it's loaded with tranquilizer darts only. Affirmative, Captain. Confirmed, all of the ammunition is loaded with tranquilizer darts, there are no bullet rounds. Soon, the guards reported back. Very well. Everyone, from this moment on, should stay alert at all times. When you spot the Phantom Thief, do not wait for orders, shoot immediately. Jim nodded and continued giving orders. Based on Phantom Thief's last rehearsal, a large number of gliders will appear in the sky shortly. Shoot them all down when the time comes. Yes, sir. At this moment, a fire of determination ignited in Jim's eyes. The Phantom Thief has always played the police, but now he finally sees a glimmer of hope to regain their reputation themselves. Phantom Thief said he would repeat the method shown in the rehearsal, right? Well, I'll disrupt every single step of your so-called rehearsal and turn it into a joke. Next to him, Bruce watched Jim give orders and revealed a satisfied expression in his eyes. The best way to deal with the Phantom Thief is to use tranquilizer darts instead of live rounds. With the unpredictable actions of the Phantom Thief, if the police hesitate to open fire, it will not be possible to find a better way to catch him. However, if they used live ammunition as usual in responding to a call, they might accidentally kill the Phantom Thief. Even though it wasn't against the law for the police to kill a criminal while performing their duty, and many people in this country thought they should, Jim is not just a law-abiding law enforcement robot. Jim considers the law as sacred, but he doesn't follow every legal rule to the ava and may have even broken some police rules. This might seem like a contradiction or even hypocrisy, but the reality is not so simple. In Jim's heart, there was something higher than the law, and that was justice and conscience. If a starving beggar who hasn't eaten for days robs someone with a knife, Jim wouldn't ignore him just because he felt pity for him. At the same time, he would never pull out his gun to kill the beggar. Even though over 90% of the police here would choose the second option because it saves time and effort, is legal, and follows the rules. It's precisely because Jim had a conscience that he understood that many things in the world cannot be simply judged as legal or illegal. That's why he became one of Batman's most trusted allies. That's why he was able to work closely with Batman, with mutual trust, and not be like the typical conflict between the police and vigilantes. Lucius isn't coming here today. After giving all the orders, Jim came to Bruce's side and asked as he looked at him alone. Lucius is different from me. He's a busy man, and Wayne Enterprises relies on him for many things. The last time he was able to come, it was because he made time for his busy schedule. Today he couldn't find the time to come. Bruce scratched the back of his head and smiled casually. I see, I understand. Jim nodded. At that moment, a small girl was seated among the audience at the stadium, but nobody noticed her presence. She kept her bright eyes on the bat signal, occasionally glancing at the helicopters in the sky and listening to the intense conversations of the many people around her. It was clear that she didn't feel comfortable in such a busy place because her eyes were filled with worry and helplessness. However, she didn't complain, nor did she have any intention of changing her seat because no matter where she went, the situation would be similar. Hey! Do you all know about Phantom Thief's rehearsal 3 days ago? I heard he made the bat signal disappear without a trace, right in front of so many people and cameras. It's truly amazing. An enthusiastic audience nearby admired the Phantom Thief. That's amazing. You really haven't seen much. The Phantom Thief couldn't have moved the bat signal. The bat signal must still be in its original place. He just used some kind of optical illusion to make it look like it disappeared. Another audience immediately countered with disdain. Oh, look, who knows things? You act like nobody knows about optical illusions. If you know so much, why don't you explain what optical illusion Phantom Thief used? Isn't it just a mirror or glass cover with a special design? Movies often have scenes like this. You also know it's a movie, hey? The Phantom Thief made the bat signal disappear and even spread the cloth on the lawn. So, where did the bat signal go? Maybe Phantom Thief intentionally moved it to a different spot, and that cloth wasn't covering the bat signal at all. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Do you think you're smart? I can tell just from your words that you probably haven't watched Phantom Thief's rehearsal at all, let alone the live stream replay online. Yet you dare to talk about moving it. Do you think everyone at the scene is blind? Humph. Whatever you say, you're just a brainless fan of Phantom Thief. There was nothing new about the arguments between audiences. At the same time, similar things were happening in many seats. But it didn't take long for them to suddenly quiet down. Because white streaks of light suddenly streaked across the sky, quickly filling the sky above the Gotham City Stadium. Yes, these white streaks of light were none other than the Phantom Thief's glider wing. After seeing this scene, everyone knew that it was an opening to the appearance of the Phantom Thief. Quick, shoot down those glider wings. Seeing this, Jim immediately shouted to his subordinates. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of gunfire rang out as countless bullets poured into the glider wings. The power of tranquilizer darts is much weaker than that of real bullets, but there was no problem taking down several low-flying glider wings. However, just as this barrage of darts met with the group of glider wings, explosions even louder than gunshots suddenly erupted. In the sky, every glider hit by darts exploded, and then a layer of white fog seemed to be released from some part of the glider wings and quickly spread in the sky above the stadium. Jim didn't expect that the Phantom Thief wouldn't release the white fog himself. But how does this mechanism work? Where was the fog coming from on the gliders? Soon, not just the glider wings hit by darts but every glider wing in the sky exploded on its own, creating a thick layer of white fog. The thickness of the fog was so good that even those in helicopters in the sky couldn't see through it. Ladies and gentlemen. Just at this moment, the loud voice of the Phantom Thief rang out from the sky. It's showtime. Chapter 149, Chapter 149, Sudden Changes. You can never build a kingdom with someone who craves attention from the village. Unknown. Bang. 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 At the center of the Gotham City Stadium lawn, the entrance of the Phantom Thief was accompanied by a series of muffled sounds. Suddenly, sparks shot out from the area around the bat signal, just like the fireworks that start a show and shine brightly in the night. Countless sparks formed a dazzling pattern in mid-air, which was none other than the iconic cartoon face of the Phantom Thief. When the sparks fell down, they suddenly turned into a quick puff of smoke. An immaculate figure came out of the smoke and stood next to the bat signal. It was none other than the Phantom Thief. This appearance was slightly different from 3 days ago, but it was much more good and spectacular than just appearing and disappearing in a puff of smoke. Phantom Thief! Phantom Thief! Phantom Thief! At the moment when Phantom Thief appeared, the audience at the Gotham City Stadium erupted in cheers. Phantom Thief's fans waved their light sticks and shouted his name. This scene hardly looked like the crime scene of a notorious thief. Anyone who doesn't know better might think that some international celebrity is holding a concert here. In the center of the field, Phantom Thief adjusted his white top hat with his right hand. He then slightly bowed in the direction of Bruce and Jim and scanned around the audience. "Mr. Wayne, Commissioner Gordon, all the members of GCPD, and my dear audience, according to our agreement, I've come to accept the challenge." The Phantom Thief's voice wasn't loud, but the tens of thousands of people inside the stadium could clearly hear his words through the stadium speakers. Besides Jim, Bruce's eyes twitched slightly as he thought, Phantom Thief hacked into the stadium's broadcasting system. It seems that the firewall I set up was too simple and couldn't stop him. Well, Phantom Thief probably has some serious hacking skills, a talent that hasn't been shown in his previous criminal records. No, it might have been there, but nobody noticed. Bang! 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 At the same time, the dozen GCPD guards around him instantly fired their weapons without warning or orders. Because Jim had given the order not long ago that as soon as they saw Phantom Thief, there was no need to wait for orders, they were to open fire and stop him. A dozen tranquilizer darts whizzed towards the Phantom Thief. In that instant, a look of surprise flashed across the Phantom Thief's face. It seemed like he hadn't expected this situation at all. "Phantom Thief, this time you won't be able to escape." Jim's eyes showed a determined glint. However, in the next second, everyone present couldn't help but show shock on their faces. It happened so quickly that when the Phantom Thief faced off with a tranquilizer dart, he wasn't as dummy-like as some people had thought. The dart did not knock him out. Instead, he dodged the tranquilizer dart in a way that was hard to believe. The Phantom Thief wasn't as fast as a certain friend in the Central City who could dodge bullets and create countless after-images of himself. The Phantom Thief just moved his body slightly left and right, just enough to avoid the tranquilizer darts and let them pass him. It was as if he had known the flying path of the tranquilizer darts in advance and had adjusted his body accordingly. In fact, it would have been more reasonable for the Phantom Thief to temporarily use his cape to block the tranquilizer dart. How is this possible? The guards who fired the darts were dumbfounded. This wasn't right, was it? A/N, they only knew that MC doesn't have any superpowers and only uses regular magic. The initial speed of the tranquilizer darts they used wasn't as high as that of regular bullets, but it was still a fast attack, almost as fast as sound. How could someone just dodge it like that? But the Phantom Thief avoided it like it was as easy as drinking water or eating food, making it look like they were making a big fuss. "Commissioner Gordon, I really didn't expect you to open fire on me the moment we met. Do you not think that is rude?" After dodging the dart, the Phantom Thief spoke with a serious expression. "I never thought it necessary to be polite to a criminal." As he spoke, Jim tried to hide his surprise, but his expression remained cold. "Is that so? I thought we could be considered friends. This is truly sad." The Phantom Thief just shrugged and sounded a little hurt. "Humph!" Jim coldly snorted. "But it's quite surprising that you used tranquilizer darts against me instead of live ammunition. Tranquilizer darts are much more expensive than regular bullets, Commissioner Gordon. You seem quite willing to spend for me." At this moment, the Phantom Thief changed the subject. He slowly raised his right hand and opened his palm. There was a tranquilizer dart on it, and it was the same model as the one used by the GCPD. It turned out that Phantom Thief had not only dodged the bullets by swaying his body, but he also managed to catch one of them. The audience was shocked once again. They already thought that dodging tranquilizer darts was almost a superhuman feat that only a few people in Gotham could do. But he was catching a speeding dart with a speed so fast that no one could see when he did it. This was completely beyond human capabilities, and even Batman might not be able to do it. When did the Phantom Thief become this terrifying? Is it an illusion? But the Phantom Thief did have the same kind of tranquilizer dart that the Gotham police use. Just a few seconds ago, the Phantom Thief they knew was just a normal human with a smart mind and skill in magic. Why has the Phantom Thief become so unfamiliar now? The officers were confused as they looked at Jim. They didn't know if they should keep following the order to shoot the Phantom Thief or just give up. Fortunately, they didn't have to remain confused for long because Phantom Thief decided for them. Well, if you keep interrupting me like this, I won't be able to perform properly, so I guess I'll have to ask you to take a nap first. As soon as the Phantom Thief finished speaking, ZZZT. A faint buzzing sound suddenly echoed, and then, like being electrocuted, several guards stiffened and fell unconscious to the ground. Phantom Thief! What did you do to my men now? The sudden shocking turn of events made Jim's temples throb as he angrily asked with a stern gaze. In response, the Phantom Thief grinned. Don't worry, Commissioner Gordon, I just attached a small electric device to them. The electric won't be dangerous, and they'll wake up after a while. Seeing Phantom Thief's smug expression, Jim was angry and wished he could just draw his gun and take down Phantom Thief immediately. Phantom Thief tricked us again. Bruce quickly stepped forward to calm him down. Don't act impulsively, Commissioner Gordon. The GCPD's operation failed, but there are others involved. Chapter 150, Chapter 150, Involved. Sadness is caused by intelligence. The more you understand certain things, the more you wish you didn't understand them. Charles Bukowski. Others. Jim looked at Bruce in confusion. There were only the Phantom Thief and their group of about a dozen people on the lawn, and a perimeter of cameras was surrounding the Phantom Thief. Where did these others come from? Commissioner Gordon, since I dared to publicly challenge Phantom Thief, how could I possibly not have a backup plan? Bruce confidently smiled. Seeing his confidence, Jim couldn't help but become curious. So Bruce still had a trick up his sleeve against the Phantom Thief. Then why didn't Bruce do anything 3 days ago when the Phantom Thief came for a rehearsal? Did he intentionally not use anything to save for today? Over the past 3 days, Jim has been inspecting Gotham City Stadium every day, but he hasn't noticed any hidden moves by Bruce. Bruce continued, have you ever wondered why I specifically used the bat signal as the container for the ocean gem? The question surprised Jim. When it came to the bat signal, there was probably no one in Gotham more familiar with it than him. After all, the one who frequently turned on the signal wasn't Batman but Jim whenever they encountered difficult criminals or unsolvable cases. Batman would then arrive on the scene as quickly as possible. And to this day, Batman has never missed a meeting. Even after he joined the Justice League and sometimes had to leave Gotham, he would always leave behind Robin or Batgirl to take his place. No one understood the importance of the bat signal better than Jim. It was never just a simple signal. It represented Batman. The backup plan that Bruce mentioned and the reason for using the bat signal, could it be? Thinking about this, Jim's eyes lit up. The Phantom Thief's tricks almost drove him insane, and he almost forgot how often he had used the backup plan. Bruce then took out a remote control from his pocket and pressed a button. Boom! The bat signal at the center of the lawn instantly lit up. A beam of light shot into the sky, piercing through the layer of white fog above the stadium and revealing a massive bat symbol. Even though the fog was only about 50 meters high, it could no longer be seen all over the city like it could before. Maybe it could only be seen from a few thousand meters around Gotham City Stadium. Jim and Bruce didn't think that anyone would ignore the bat signal. Wow, so this bat signal is real. I thought it was just a fake. The phantom thief looked up at the bat symbol in the sky, pretending to be amazed. His tone revealed relaxation and confidence, as if he didn't care about the person who might appear with the bat signal. No one knew that this was just an outside appearance, but deep inside, Phantom Thief was extremely serious at the moment. Bruce Wayne doesn't seem to have any plans to leave. If Batman can't come, what's the point of him turning on the bat signal? It can't be to signal Robin, right? Is he trying to confuse me? The Phantom Thief stared at Bruce while thinking to himself. No, I can disguise myself as another person, and others can do the same. The disguises produced by Wayne Enterprises technology are probably even more advanced than mine. The Bruce Wayne I see in front of me may not necessarily be the real Bruce. The Phantom Thief thought like this and immediately became extremely alert. At this moment a series of surprises left the people in the audience bewildered. They hadn't recovered from the shock of the previous scene when the next scene brought an even more explosive scene. Oh my god! The GCPD is being unreasonable. They actually shot at the Phantom Thief. Well, to say they shot might be a bit much, but Phantom Thief had just started speaking, and they just started shooting. That's so sneaky. Oh god! What did I just see? The Phantom Thief actually dodged the darts fired by a dozen people at the same time. And he did it so easily. Am I really not dreaming? Damn it! Why did those 10 or so police officers from GCPD suddenly collapse? They started the attack, didn't they? Phantom Thief is so far away from them, how did he make them fall? Does he have some kind of electric eye or something? What the hell? So that bat signal isn't just a decoration, it actually lights up? And it actually lit up. As the events happened, the emotions of the audience always changed. They experienced concern for Phantom Thief in one moment, shock at his performance in the next, and then astonishment at the bat signal lighting up. Today's events are so different from 3 days ago. Will the Phantom Thief use the same trick again? I can't help but feel more and more excited. Yet, who knows? Phantom Thief, please perform your magic soon. I can't wait to see him make the bat signal disappear again. After watching Phantom Thief's performances so many times, I don't know why, but sometimes it seems like he enjoys stopping suddenly at critical moments and only starting the spectacular show when I'm anxious. I wonder if all magicians have this kind of sense of taste. At this moment, the Phantom Thief seemed to sense the anticipation in the audience and spoke softly. I guess many of you can't wait anymore. I had a little conflict with the GCPD officers earlier, which delayed us a bit. Now, let's savor that moment when we witness the miracle again. He turned his back to the bat signal, slowly raised his right hand, and snapped his fingers lightly. Snap! Thud! Then, right after the snap, there was suddenly a muffled sound in the sky. The audience turned their heads in the direction of the sound with anticipation. According to the rehearsal process last time, a white cloth should fall. Sure enough, a white cloth floated down from the thick white fog in the sky. The way the cloth was falling, it wouldn't be long before it covered the bat signal. Just as the white cloth was about to drop within a few inches of the bat signal, something unexpected happened. Whoosh! Several small black objects suddenly flew out and cut several long slits in the white cloth. In the darkness, these small black objects weren't very easy to see, but with the white cloth as a background, they became very noticeable. The Phantom Thief clearly recognized these black objects. They were not anything strange. They were birdarangs. The white cloth was torn into several long slits by the birdarangs. This meant that even if it covered the bat signal, it would be difficult to completely cover the whole bat signal, especially since the bat signal was still lit and many parts would be exposed through the slits. Interestingly, only the birdarang were seen flying in, there was no sight of the person who threw them. Who's here? Robin, or? The Phantom Thief's heart tightened. He first looked at Jim, and Bruce was still standing in place. but he couldn't guarantee that Bruce here was definitely the real Bruce. The angle at which the birdorang flew just now was slanting downward, which means the throwing direction is. The phantom thief turned his head in a certain direction and squinted slightly. Then a voice came from the sky. "Do you think you can use the same trick a second time? Phantom thief."